This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello everyone and a very warm welcome to our sunset drive coming all the way from South Africa in the Sabi Sand, and my name is David and on the camera is my younger brother David. And I'm sure most of you have the news, have got in the wind that now you've got a new coalition of the David boys trying to keep the pace to the Birmingham boys and of course the Avoca males. How does that sound, David?
Oh, good.
Very good. David is very, very happy. Today we promise lots of action as we start our sunset game drive. You might have seen a very big mast there. That's where we broadcasted from. I got a small little gadget right there. I don't know what that is. And then that sends my voice to something or to an area next to David. Then it goes there, then it goes to London, and the rest, I do not know what happens. Remember, this is a very interactive safari drive, and we'll need lots of questions from you. Send us questions on Twitter, #SafariLive, and you can keep following us on YouTube mainstream. A bit warm, and like this morning when I was like this, is about 32 degrees Celsius and 89 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not alone in the bush. We have a girl who has been on leave and just came in this morning, and she'll also be out and about telling us what to do. And as I do that, I'll be walking back to the car. And we also got another gentleman by the name of Raf who will be making tracks. So to all of you again, welcome. Be with us, and I'll be reconnecting myself back to where I was before, so that I can hear full control when they are talking to me. And yes, be there and let's see what happens during this game drive. All right. Okay. It has been exciting. Yesterday we had wild dogs. This morning we had wild dogs as was seen by James not for long. And yes, look, who did you say I get up to? Sorry. And with that note, I'll want the girl who just came in today to say hello to all of you.
Hello everybody, it's good to be back in the Sabi Sand. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Craig, aka Batman, aka Butternut Craig, and anything else that you have. Hello Impala! Oh, loud, probably. Well, I'm excited to be back. These Impala don't really want to be seen. Maybe this Impala Ram wants to say hello. Hello Impala Ram, how are you today? Any of it? Had any other trouble from any other male Impalas? Certainly noticed is how dry everything is looking. The grass may be nice and tall still, but it's definitely not that lovely green. It's, well, slightly yellow at the moment. But I'm very excited because remember how I've spoken quite a bit about the yellow leaves on the marula trees? Well, and I didn't see it last year. Come on, Wendy, girl. Don't give me problems today. Give me one day's grace. And that is going to be...
And as I was saying earlier, this morning, James had a small glimpse of the very elusive wild dogs, which were on the run as usual. But yesterday, for those who were watching, I had about 2 hours in the morning with the wild dogs and about an hour and a half again with the same wild dogs in the afternoon or on the sunset game drive. And to me, that was very special. Very special in the sense that I've seen wild dogs before, but seeing them that close and static, well, they're a bit flat, but still for me, it was something. They would wake up a little bit, they'd stretch, they would roll, they'd scratch themselves, and we were by the Cheetah waterhole, and on a few occasions we saw two impalas come, and the wild dogs went, all right, and I told the camera guy, now this is time for action, but they were so full and their bellies were, bulging. They didn't need to eat anything, but that was very, very, very special. And I feel sorry for my friend James, who was so excited this morning, and he was telling me on radio, James, I got the wild dogs, David. And I think it was 1 hour 45 seconds, and those wild dogs were gone. And I had them yesterday, a total give or take 3.5 hours. Coming up to a big antelope here, I don't know whether he'll give us a good profile or he'll be a bit shy. David, can you see that big? Let's see if he'll give us a little profile. We'll move forward a little bit. Good. And this will be my first antelope for this afternoon. And this is the Nyala, and it's a big boy. Beautiful spots on the cheeks, something that I've seen on these antelopes that I haven't seen in East Africa, in Kenya where I come from. And most of the big antelopes of this size that I've seen here in South Africa are browsers. I'm talking about this particular one, and also the kudu. They move very quietly. Nice rock of horns there. He poses, looks at us. There's some Franklin's, dust bathing. I'm sure that's what he might have looked. And slowly trying to walk away and get himself more leaves, and that is not a bad start. Nyalas, just to let you know, these particular antelopes, we do not have them in East Africa. Anywhere else, I do not know. I've seen them for the first time right here in South Africa. And of so many things I'm putting big or double ticks, Nyalas have come out very nicely, giving us a better profile than before. Do you think so, Dave?
Yeah, maybe.
Excellent. And Habariako Brent right back. That is my brother from the other mother, and he says Jumbo, a very tall boy,
Yeah, thank you.
and very good looking. And tell him David also says a big Jumbo from all of us here in Juma. Very good, and he'll stay there on the shade as he keeps eating. And we'll find out if there could be any girls or any females around him. And one of my tall Rafiki, who is trucking and on feet, would like to say hello to all of you.
Well, that's correct, Rafiki Dave, and welcome here on the afternoon bushwalk. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and on the camera we've got Sebastian. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and please don't forget to join us on the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter and on the YouTube live chat. Send us your questions and your comments and get involved on this reality bushwalk. We're in the Djuma concession in the Greater Kruger National Park of South Africa, and we are out on foot in big game country. And my idea for this afternoon is, because it's very hot, we're talking lower 30 degrees Celsius, maybe around that mid to upper 80 degrees Fahrenheit. It's quite warm. So I think that all these animals are going to be seeking some shade, seeking some water, and so we're just going to do the same as that. Follow the drainage lines, follow the pans, and see what we can find. Now, we've come out just behind camp. We're just near to Gallagher Pan. My trusty game scout Herbert is up ahead, but we've spotted one of these beautiful plants here that we called the mother-in-law's tongue. Now, something that, well, I think it's called the mother-in-law's tongue because it really can slap you very hard. So, well, let's just go with that. But anyway, I know that these plants are very good for the usage of obtaining or containing very bad waves, and around where I am from in the Eastern Cape of South Africa, people actually buy these and put them around their houses for specifically Wi-Fi that we all have now in our homes, and this is one of the plants that collects those bad radio waves or whatever. I'm not exactly sure on the ins and outs, but you can find out about it. But having said that, this plant, very good to have around your home. It collects all those negative waves in your home, and very good for the kids. And well, we've got them all around our home for that specific reason. But anyway, let's move on a little bit and let's head towards that Galago pan. Now, there's lots of tracks and signs here, but I do want to get up to the pan and see if anything's come for a drink, and maybe we can then trail it. But it seems Taylor, who's fresh back, and she's got lots of energy, and it seems she's got something nice to show you.
Well, Ralph, we're going to try and start this all over again, seeing as though the trend is common. Every time I come back from leave or I'm at work, the technical gremlins get me. Anyways, I was trying to tell you about the yellow leaves on the marula trees that we're going to start to be seeing as, well, winter comes upon us. So my goal this afternoon is going to be to find the yellowest leaves on the marula trees, because I think it'll be quite pretty. Well, I think it's one of the prettier things to see the contrast of the yellow leaves against the blue skies. And as most of you know that have been watching for some time, is that we don't really have any rain or any clouds. So we are really just left with beautiful blue skies in winter, and it's quite stunning. This one's not quite completely yellow. This is like a pear color. What did you think, Craig? What color would you use to describe those leaves? If you say yellow, I'm kicking you off the car. What did you say? Golden yellow. Pale yellow. So we've got pear and pale yellow this afternoon to describe the colours of the changing leaves on the marula trees. Perhaps you'd like to join in with us and, well, think of something a little bit better than what Craig and I can actually think of. So hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can also tell us via the YouTube chat. I had so much fun this holiday. Thank you all for asking. I don't even know if you asked, but I'm just going to tell you anyways. And I saw so many horses. So many horses in this little area not far from Nelspruit, so like in Mpumalanga, that sort of province, called Kaapse. And it was really lovely. And I will show you some pictures as the drive progresses. I think now it's going to be a bit glary, so I'm not going to whip my camera out and show you. There were just horses everywhere. And you're not allowed to touch them, and you're not allowed to feed them. And they were very cool, though. They just wander. You're going to be quite careful. There's big signs everywhere. Wild horses. I mean, I don't think they necessarily were wild. I think they've somehow been released, and there's many theories about how they arrived there. Did they escape from a circus? Were they brought in when they started bringing in the railway lines and preparing the railway lines? Oh, hello, animals. Who knows? No one really knows how they got there, but they're there now. These are not horses, though. These are impala. And oh, Wendy, just quickly going back to the impala, not the impala leaves. That's because that's not a thing. To the marula leaves, you said mellow yellow. That's quite cool. I like that. We'll keep that one. And now we've got some impala practicing their camouflage behind some not so yellow guarri leaves. Oh, sorry, Craig. I've out of practice, everybody. I'm gonna get back into everything again. Craig's gonna be killing me because I'm not gonna sit still in the car. My hat's gonna come into camera or into frame. There's a young ram. Off he goes. Buddy, you better enjoy the time with the herd, because soon you're going to be, well, sent off on your way. Now, there's quite a few of them. I think by now the herds of impala are so sick of being chased around by the rams that when they sort of shout out and say, right, everybody, move on, come up this way, they kind of just do it without putting up a fight at all, which I think is best. A couple lingering around, though, I think hoping that they might make an escape. But yeah, the impala rams are looking tired already. So maybe a changeover is going to be happening. We know that when the big rams do take over a breeding herd, they don't normally stay in them for very long. I've seen some tattered ones. One looked like it hadn't brushed its hair in about 2 weeks. Kind of like me, what I look like most of the time. And my mother would have had serious stern talking to that impala ram, but they don't. They forget to groom themselves. They're not eating as much. They're definitely not looking as fat as they were 2 weeks ago. Definitely lost condition. But there's a lot of competition in this area. So I'm going to be also keeping my eyes open today and hope to see some impala rams battling it out. I think that would be quite cool to see. Some ellie tracks around here too. Maybe we'll bump into those elephants, but those tracks do look like they're from very early this morning. I know that they can travel quite a distance. Right, it seems as though David is the only one with a plan this afternoon. He whispered something about Cheetah. Let's go and see if he's any closer.
All right, it's time now, Taylor, you stop talking about your holiday because you're making me very envious and jealous and think it's also time for me to take a holiday. And I may not want to do that because I might have seen some ducks and maybe an animal I had not seen since I got here in South Africa. And see, we got lots of them back in Kenya, but this is my first one to see here. Look at that zebra. Just next to it is the chiller pan, some small water hole, and we got some Egyptian geese there. There's two there, and in general, always you see them in twos because they're very monogamous, a male and a female. And Dave, how exciting for us to spot a zebra. Would you kindly go back to that zebra and see whether it's anywhere related to the zebras we got in East Africa? I'd be happy to know whether she or he is alone. I can't see very well from where I am, whether it's a male or a female, but you'll get zebras going in herds. Robert, you'd like to know if the change in temperatures will affect hunting strategies, and I'm assuming it's hunting strategies for the predators. Absolutely, absolutely. It really happens for the predators to go hunting like now because of the heat of the day. And take a classical example of an animal like a cheetah, pretty like a cheetah. The cheetah, once it sets off for its prey, the body temperature rises very, very quickly, and that will determine whether it will keep pushing for the prey or not. So temperature change, when the temperatures are high like now, 32 degrees Celsius or 89 degrees Fahrenheit, it's pretty hot for any predator to go for a hunt. And I'm really enjoying this fussy zebra of mine, and Taylor is watching some very, very small carnivores.
We are, and they're being quite cheeky at the moment. Now, I've seen, I don't think it's the same colony, maybe it was, but I remember last year, towards the beginning of the year, I stopped in this exact same place, and there was a colony of dwarf mongoose that had inhabited this termite mound that is in the middle of the road. Now, I always wonder, one day we're going to drive over there and we're going to fall into a sinkhole and, well, we're just going to be covered with termites, and, whether we'll ever see the light of day again, I'm not sure. Hello, mongoose. Now, I definitely do think that they're living here because there's quite a bit of fresh dung around. You can see there's a little piece there. There's also lots of tracks going up and down. Or the other thing is that maybe they were just foraging and they heard the rumbling of my car and they were terrified. So they thought they'd run and hide away. But now that they've realized that we're not a threat to them, they know this when we're in the cars. So they might relax a little bit and come out. There's quite a few little pups in there too. Some of those look like youngsters. Debbie, do you think they missed me? I don't think these guys remember me. I would love it if they did. In my mind, I think all the animals have missed me. But In all reality, I don't think these guys really know who I am. Hello? Oh, there's so many of them. Oi, what are you doing? Can you... Paula, you're a bit concerned about these mongoose, and you said it's a bit dangerous. I don't think necessarily dangerous, because if they are scared, like they just showed us, they just dive down into those burrows. And I'm pretty sure they can feel the vibrations on the ground too when they're inside. So I don't think any of them would be, well, sticking their heads out as we drive over. And even if they did, you can see where the cars drive. You can see that termite mound is actually in the middle. Sorry, that was me. That got the mongoose attention. There was a little bee buzzing. Not a bee, it was like a little fly thing buzzing about. So I just thought I'd give it a warning shot. I missed. And I don't think it's too much of a worry. I mean, that mound must be massive. I wouldn't be surprised if it was the entire length of the road, and probably extending slightly further than that. So these mongoose could probably go all over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to say once a quarter for sure, love. Definitely not going to sing that, and hopefully it's in everybody's head now. So a number of sort of different mongoose. There's still quite a few. I can hear them every now and then. They're also out foraging in the grass and under the trees. I don't know why they're still just sitting out in the open like this. It must be so hot. So hot. And mongoose do like to worship the sun. We see this in the late afternoons and the very early mornings. But, I mean, this kind of sun now is still quite unpleasant and still quite harsh. I'm going to get this thing, sorry. Coco Fifi, excuse me while I swat away here. Mongoose can get quite, well, I mean, these aren't the biggest ones. These are the smallest mongoose we get. They're about the length of a ruler, so about 30 centimeters or so. They don't get too much bigger than that. Maybe the tip of the tail's a little bit longer. I'm trying to think how big they are when they're born. I mean, they must only weigh a couple of grams, but in lengthwise, probably maybe, I'm guessing now, because I don't actually know how big they are when they're born. They must be maybe like 10 centimeters or so, maybe a little bit less than that. I'm sure they're quite tiny, but they'll stay hidden away in the den. So we don't really get to see really teeny tiny mongoose pups. We normally see them once they're a few weeks old and are able to run outside, like that one at the back. That was a youngster. Looks like a youngster. And the one closest to us looks a little bit more adult-like. Now, Magic Dragon, this sort of varies, and it depends, I suppose, on a lot of sort of outside factors that will determine the size of a colony. But we're seeing some big ones here. I couldn't tell you what the biggest colony I've seen is, but I mean anywhere between 15 and 30, and maybe you'll even get the extreme. Maybe there'll be even like huge colonies that are outside and around. But I would say in the Sabi Sand, maybe between 10 and 15 is about the most that you'll see. But again, if there's lots of food around, they'll be having lots of pups, and they'll be able to sustain everyone. But we are going to leave these little mongoose now. So much, I don't think mongoose are vermin. I'm trying to think now. No, I wouldn't classify mongoose as vermin. Where they are a bit of a problem is people that have farms and have chickens. They love to eat a chicken, and they don't really eat it in a very nice way. Not very nice. I'm not going to go this way because I don't want to scare the mongoose now. We're going to go the other way. But I do want to try and catch up to those elephant tracks that we did have. So, no, I don't think that they are vermin. Anyways, David is on a roll today with all sorts of wonderful animals. He's now got some pumba.
Right, hopefully the elephant tracks will lead to real elephants. And we just saw a small pig here, and he's trying to hide from us. Let's see if we can see him again. Can you see him, Dave? Keep going forward.
No, I don't see him at the moment.
Yeah, we had a pig here, a warthog, and just moved away from us, which is fine. That would happen. But from warthog or piggy, we might be seeing something bigger somewhere here that could be even more exciting than that pig. And let's see, my eyes might have shown me a huge huge antelope or a huge buffalo maybe. Let me see what I just saw a few seconds ago. Yes. This could be exciting. Tell me where to stop, David. Is it good there? Yeah. All right. Look at this huge male buffalo here, trying to fight with that bush. And he's either sharpening his horns. You can hear that. I don't know if you can hear that. And these are the animals you do not want to meet in the bush, especially when they are solo or when they're solitary, alone like this. It's a huge male from the size of the horns. And look at the base. Hopefully he shows a bit of a base of his horn, but basically what he's trying to do is to sharpen his horns. You can hear him like he wants to bring that bush down. No worries, but I can tell you this is quite something. And they'll do this once in a while, and the horns, the tips get pretty sharp. And this could be one of the reasons why the buffaloes and most of the males are called the dagger boys, because their horns can actually, the tip of them, let me just reposition forward a little bit and give you a better profile of them, because their horns can actually tear you. Ravinda, I want to agree with you 100%. Is that good, David? That this guy is very grumpy, very, very grumpy, and he is so prime. Look at him. Look at the size. Look at his body condition. And Ravinda, you're right. I mean, from his behavior, either I have to talk softly, and Ravinda, from his behavior, it tells you he could easily come charging at you and bring you down in seconds. I have to be very honest, Julia. I'm still learning my botany here in South Africa. And if this buffalo will allow us to get close to it much later, or close to that tree or a similar one, I will let you know what that tree is, Leah. My apologies for that. But what I know, the most dominant tree species around this area where I am are the bush willows. I have learned that from James Henry. The most dominant species or the types of trees around here are the bush willows. And yeah, that guy, from what he's doing, tells you how grumpy he can be. And we have seen in Africa, buffaloes and hippos have killed so many people in this continent. And personally, I don't think I would take a chance to confront such a good-looking male. And the gentleman who is tracking got some update for us.
Well, everybody, we have now just changed our route slightly because of what we've just found here. Now, this is a track, and it's a track of a female leopard, and it seems like, because we had the tracks of Shudulu this morning going out of Arethusa, going into Arethusa, across the Triple M road on our western boundary. Now we've found these very close to the Vuyatela Dam. Now what is interesting here is I want to show you what's happening. You see, we've got two sets of tracks and they're going in either direction. We've got this one set of tracks that's moving up, and it's going up to where Herbie is now, and then we've got an identical set coming out. Okay, so what we're thinking is, when you get this kind of setup and you're right near to a waterhole, the very real probability is that this female leopard, which we are thinking is possibly Tandi because of the vicinity of Shudulu having disappeared, that she's made a kill somewhere in the thickets just near to us here, and she's come out for a drink. She's gone down to Vuyatela Dam, and she's come back because these tracks going on top are fresher, and it comes out the exact same place that it's going back. Very good indication that she's either with a little cub and she's returning to it, but more likely is that she's on a potential kill, whatever that might be. So the thing that we're going to be doing now is to try and follow these tracks. We need to be very careful because we already know that we're potentially quite close to her, and with her coming out on the road and this kind of setup, let's hold thumbs that we're going to go in there and we're going to potentially find Thandi. So come on, let's go and have a look. We need to be very, very quiet, and this is the part where it gets quite tricky, where we need to be intuitive, because once we get onto this kind of ground, this kind of soil, it's quite hard. It's almost impossible to follow a leopard track for track. So what we've got to think is, which is the path of least resistance, where she turned her hips and she came off of the road. Now she's taking this path. Okay, so when you get to little bushes like this, sometimes you can even see a little hair on there, which I'm not seeing at the moment, but I think there's a track there, very nondescript, but she's left a little bit of a mark there. There's also impala tracks and bushbuck, but she's left a little mark there that we could say that she's moved on this way. It's very difficult to see for the untrained eye. Now, Vishal, these tracks will literally, they could last a few days. It depends on when we get some rain and how much traffic you've got from the animals moving up and down these particular game paths. But for the time being, where we don't have any rain, it can last for up to a week. And as I say, then depends on what else walks on top of it. Okay, Herbie's just giving us a sign up front here. Okay, here we go, everyone. Come, let's go. Let's go nice and quietly. I think Herbie might have spotted something. Here we go. Come, everyone. Careful, Seb. Have you got her? Where's she? Just there. I still don't see her. Is she on the ground? Oh, there she is. Look at this. Very exciting, everyone. There she is. Yes. So right in the middle, just down into the grass. We might need to get a slightly better view here, everybody, but this seems to be confirmed. We just obviously don't want to disturb her. She's potentially on a kill, so when leopards are on a kill, you need to be very careful because they can be also quite aggressive. There she sits up now. She's just sat up. Hello, girl. Well done, Herbie. Good tracking there, my man. Everybody, perfect, huh? That's the way we track leopards, and perfect the way that we came in there. Now, everyone, we're just going to do an unscheduled broadcast, so just so you know, all right? I'm just going to move forward slightly, huh? All right. Hello everybody, and welcome to the Djuma concession in the Greater Kruger National Park of South Africa. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and we've just been walking around following on the trails of our beautiful Thandi, and we have followed her tracks from Vuyatela drainage line, and we saw that they came in and out, and we were pretty sure then she was on a kill, and we've just spotted her just in the thicket ahead of us over there. She sat up for a moment. She's gone down again, but very, very impressive how you can see how they disappear in the grass. It's probably almost invisible for you at the moment. I'm not sure if Seb's actually able to get a view on her. She is there in the grass. Seb's saying that he can't really see her perfectly. We might have to get a bit of a different angle on that. If Seb just takes a couple of steps to the side, we don't want to disturb her. We're about, I would say, maybe about between 30 and 40 meters away from her, so still far enough, but relatively close to a leopard on foot. I can just see her there, Seb. See the darkness in the grass? Her head is down, she's facing towards us. Beautiful, everybody. How is that? It looks like it is Thandi, and we haven't identified if she's on a kill just yet, but we have now identified and followed the tracks, and it led us to this beautiful animal. Arvinda, hello back to you from... Oh, Herbie's saying that he can see the meat. So she's on some food. Arvinda, how's it? How's it back at you? You're saying hello from India. I'm saying how's it from South Africa. Sitting with an African leopard. You get them in India as well. But Thandi is sitting with a kill. We're not exactly sure right now what it is. So we do need to be a little bit careful because they can be aggressive around food. Like we all can, can't we? Get a bit grumpy around our meals. Especially when we're hungry, isn't it? So I think we might just shift position. Maybe just to this open area here. Go a little bit closer. To go straight. How do you mean from here? Okay, the one bonus is that we've got lovely cover between us and her, so that makes us feel good and her feel good that we haven't broken cover, because we've got this lovely stuff in between us and her, so she can feel safe and so can we. If she had to warn us, it would normally be a growl. If she had to growl, we need to back up immediately. But she seems quite calm. She is quite used to people being out on foot and on vehicle. We just need to just be a little bit slow with our movements, etc. Amy, I do believe it is a recent kill. It's probably from today, if not this morning. And we can't see it very clearly. All we know is that there is some meat there. So we'll have to investigate a little bit better. And I'm sure we've now been able to come in on foot here, but we're not going to be able to get as close as a vehicle is going to be. So I'm sure Herbie's going to let some of the vehicles know, and then they will be able to come in and get a clear view on her. But we've done our job out being on foot, taking the tracks, following the animals into the blocks. You know, the vehicles wouldn't be able to do this. So it is absolutely fascinating. So that's what we do out here, and I'd love for you to keep joining us because, well, what an experience being out on foot, finding leopard with a kill. What more could we ask for? So thanks for joining us on all the different platforms, and we'll see you soon. The visual is very nondescript there in the grass. You've almost got to imagine it. She hasn't sat up. Okay, so welcome back to all our normal viewers. We just did a quick action broadcast there because it's obviously very, very, very cool to be so close to leopard, especially out on foot, and with us having tracked her in. Well, what more could you ask for, eh? So as I say, nice that we've got this cover here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're maybe just going to loop, just try to get a slightly better view before these vehicles come in. But in the meantime, off to Taylor and see how close she is.
Well, Ralph and the Bushwalk team are very, very well done to all of you. Woo! And the crowd goes wild, I bet. I'm sure that's exactly what's happening. So very exciting. We are currently on a newly graded Philemon's cut line. It's very sandy. It's like I'm in Mozambique at the moment. It's very cool. So we're almost at Philemon's dip. So we're not far away, but we'll just take it easy and slowly make our way there. But I certainly won't be able to communicate with Ralph or anybody. I think who's here? Is Herbie here? Or is it Rexon? Herbie's back. Craig said Herbie's here. So, okay, that's amazing. But he can't let me know that. So, Luke, you're going to have to tell me because I have no game drive comms today, no communication. So I would like to most certainly make my way into that sighting, seeing as though we're going in that direction. I wonder if it is. I wonder if it's Shadulu or if it's Tundi. It'll be quite cool. Rightio. I cannot believe this David character, hey? Look at him. He's come from the Mara. He's had warthogs, he's had zebra, he's had Inyala, and now he's got the tallest one of them all.
Yes, things are just going my way and, just happening the way I would want them to happen, having come such a long way. And by the way, it's very exciting news of a leopard spotted on foot. A small predator spotted, but now we got a big mammal that spotted or got body patterns, similar to the leopard, but much bigger in size. I was with David the other day and we saw one giraffe and we were like, this one we have to frame it, we have to follow it. And after about 10 minutes, we couldn't get close to where it was because of the thickets. Now this one just dips and disappears, and what I will do, I'll try and close up a little bit and see whether we get a better profile of these tall animals that we call the southern giraffe. In Kenya, we got the Maasai giraffe, and these ones here are the southern giraffe. So this one today seems to like both of us. What do you think, David? Is that good for you? And excellent, big boy. Good afternoon, sir. Do I look familiar? His eyeball is right on me. And I don't think I've seen you before. Well, I may want to introduce myself to you, big boy. He is huge, and make sure you don't come close. What a majestic walk. Wow. Sinak, an interesting question. How do the giraffes cope with the toxin on the acacia leaves? And I'll tell you, most of the acacia leaves they eat are perfectly fine and will have no concern or any harm to the giraffes, Sinak. So they'll just eat them, they get the leaves, they'll avoid the thorns, and in general, they do not cause them any harm. You see, like the bush, that one is eating now, Sinak. That's what you call the magic guare. Magic guare, I guess that's the correct one. And they do not cause them any damage, the leaves they eat from the acacia or from the thorn trees. They're very selective and they will know exactly what to eat and what not to eat. Huge, tall antelope, huge, tall giraffe. Mama, it is, eh? Marcy, I agree with you. This boy is majestic. I think, Marcy, you saw him walk. And look at that face. Look at that beautiful headshot there. Very good job, David, there. Yeah, Marcy, I agree with you. He is quite majestic. I think you saw him walk there, 2 and 2, and couldn't ask for a better majestic walk than that. He'll walk, turn around, look at another magic guare bush, decide, I didn't like that one. Very lucky animals. Of all the mammals we got around, these ones are lucky to be able to reach the very top leaves or foliage of many trees around. Not sure what he is looking at. Could be another giraffe there, David, do you think? Because I thought I saw in the background another giraffe move. Carla, you'd like to know how tall do I think he is? This is a fully grown male, my guess is, and I would give about 5.5 meters, about 5.5 meters tall. In feet, that could be about 18 feet, 17, 18 feet high. He's a tall boy, Carla, tall boy. I would say he's at his prime age. Michelle, you'd like to know what's the difference between the Maasai and the southern giraffe. Size-wise, they could be the same, but the pattern would be a bit different, but they're very, very, very close also in pattern. I'll see you to go to photograph somewhere and show you as you keep enjoying that view, and we'll show you a Maasai giraffe against a southern giraffe, and then we'll look at the patterns, but the patterns make the whole difference, and apart from the pattern, everything else remains the same. Let me see if we got to the Maasai giraffe. I'll be getting the giraffe and I'll be showing you in a while, but in the meantime, we get some stripes somewhere.
David, I'll take your giraffe and raise you a herd of zebra. Here we go. Very nice to see. It's really, really awesome that all the animals have decided to come back. I feel like, Zebra, you have missed out, though. If you were here a few weeks ago, you would have been in, well, zebra heaven. Heaven. Because grazing was just really in tip-top shape. But a couple of the mares looking a little bit large around the midsection. Wouldn't you all agree? That's exciting. Very exciting news. As most of you know, zebras, very much like horses, will have one foal every year. Again, it also depends on what's happening. So if there's a bit of a drought, maybe they won't. But this year, I think we're going to see lots and lots of little ones, which is very exciting. There's a youngster. It's probably around, I don't know, maybe 7 months or so, looking nice and tall. But they are heading off into the distance, into the thicket, and we are also trying to head towards a leopard. But very cool to see. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of them. I also saw, when I drove in this afternoon, I saw a herd of wildebeest that were tucked away under some trees. So that's nice. Now, Coco Fifi, I've only ever seen a zebra for, well, I have touched some zebras before, but they were very young, and their mothers had died, and they were being hand-reared, and they were a nightmare. But anyways, your question was about how tall can they get. I'd say that a zebra is anywhere between about 14 3 hands to maybe a stallion 15 hands, about 15 hands. I don't think more than 15 hands, so not quite a horse. I think they're definitely verging on quite a
Good, and stripes, we just saw one zebra earlier, but Taylor having seen more, it's pretty good news. And we are heading now to the Cheetah Hall. There were news earlier of a leopard not very far from there. It was spotted this morning, and you'll find out, and it had a kill. Most likely, if you're lucky, we'll see it. Sorry, the road is a bit rough here, but that happens on the big roads. A little bit bumpy. So you could be very, very lucky if we see this leopard that was spotted this morning. And normally if they have a kill which they have not finished, chances are they'll not go very far from that kill. They may step out, go have a drink, and then come back. And especially if it was perched up on top of a tree, we need to find that out. And not very far from where we are now, And my joy here in South Africa will continue from wild dogs yesterday to maybe a leopard today. And if I'm not wrong, I had the leopard that was spotted was the male Tingana. Slowly, I'll be coming to know their names, learn how they do the spot patterns to be able to identify them. Something that we do not do in Kenya, eh? It's so exciting when, you're told that leopard is that one. That's the name of that one. That's a male. Wow, a male and a female, I could possibly tell. But telling which male from what male or female could be quite a challenge for me, eh? And here, the presenters just do it like that with the cam-ups. Is that correct, David? Great stuff you do here. Very good. So you're going to turn right here, and that's the direction that I'm pointing at, where Tingana was spotted. Not very far from the Cheetah waterhole. For those of you who have been following me, I said one of the other days, Cheetah Hole is one of my favorite spots. I loved it the very first day, or the very first time I got here in South Africa. And yesterday is where I had the wild dogs for 3 hours plus. And coming up, David, I don't know whether these pigs will disappear like what we had before. Let's see. Is a good angle, David, for you? Look at those pigs there. And this is a nice family of them. More cooperative than what we saw before, eh? Anyway, it was only one. But now, all the better. We got a family of 4. And they're like, yes, take as many pictures as you want. And let the viewers enjoy them. You notice how they scrape the ground using their upper mandible, like to dig for the tubers and the rhizomes in the grass there. It's a very important tool for the warthogs, eh? And things are getting better with the bushwalk team. Let's link up to them now.
Now, everybody, it's really difficult to see that, but there is Thandi, and we've also identified that Tlalamba is also in the area. Thandi has made a lovely impala kill, but she's lying there just below that round-leafed bloodwood that's hanging down. You can see her belly, which is it's really difficult, and that's just shows how well camouflaged. There she is. You can see it nicely now. But as I say, this is leopard on foot. The vehicle will come in shortly and get a better view for you. Maybe see both of them. We've done our job here now. And, well, we can see there's a leopard, we can see there's a kill, and we can also see that there's a little baby there. So Seb is now going to try his best just to show you the impala. He might have a better view from here. I don't know, Seb. I can see it quite clearly. It's got it looks like a ram. And it's got the horns sticking out there as well. There's the kill. So, fantastic. Thandi's back. Shudulu has disappeared to Arathusa. And we are now right near to Juma Lodge and Vuyatela Dam. And Thandi has a wonderful meal for both her and the little cub. Fantastic. So, as I say, it's going to be more comfortable for the vehicles to get in nice and close there. And while she's nice and relaxed at the moment, she did put her head up a little bit, and then she went back down. And so we're going to move out and just indicate to the vehicles where to come in. Rex is here from Juma Lodge. He's already close in there, so I'm going to go off and tell Taylor where exactly she needs to come in, and hopefully you get some better picture. In the meantime, off to David, and let's see how he's going.
Right, this pig is here has given us great cooperation. They haven't gone anywhere, and there's one big boy there who has been eating, was scraping the ground earlier, trying to dig rhizomes and, all the roots there, tubers to feed himself. Warthogs being omnivores, they'll eat meat, grass, anything. Sinak would like to know what grass they feed on, and it's all type of grass they'll find, and to not be the grass itself, and what they would feed on will be the rhizomes or the roots or the tubers that they dig. And as I was saying earlier, they use their upper mandible like a scraping tool, and they just tend to dig any rhizomes from the ground. And occasionally also you'll see them in open areas eating some plain grass that's pretty short, but is always very, very fresh grass that's full of moisture. It's the kind of grass they'll be eating. And as I said, again, warthogs are omnivores. They eat grass, but occasionally we have also seen them scavenging on, dead meat or skeletons of animals and trying to rip off any pieces of meat left on them. They are moving away quietly, and we'll be heading away to my favorite spot, Cheetah Dam, and see whether they can get close to the sighting of Tingana of this morning. I think it's the day of the afternoon for leopards again today, eh? The bush team are doing a wonderful job, eh? Let's see also whether we can get our own. Sinak, you'd like to know whether I've ever seen a leopard kill a warthog. Not live, but them on one. Most leopards, say males, which could be about 70 or so kilograms in weight, fully grown warthogs are huge and they're big in size. And it's quite a big risk for leopards to go for them, eh? But if they bump onto younger females or younger males which are smaller in size, they'll wait for them from the termite mounds and they latch on them and they feed on them. I've seen them eat one, but I haven't seen Sinak, a live kill of a leopard on a warthog. But I would imagine that should be an exciting, thing to see. Maybe my stay in South Africa, I might be able to see one. Who knows? These things will always happen. But again, as I said, in general, it rarely happens. They will not kill the fully grown warthogs because they are bigger than them. And using their tusks, they can just poke them and hurt the leopards. And I don't think the leopards won't take that risk. Eh? Now, Tingana, where were you? We're trying to get close to Tingana, and maybe before we get to Tingana, we'll be looking at one very beautiful stock I've always seen around the Cheetah waterhole, and then we'll head out to look for a spotted Tingana. David, let me know what position you want for us to get hold of that beautiful stock there. I think some great light with some blacksmith lapwings next to it. This good? Okay. Yeah, that's the Sandobil stock. It's one of the most beautiful stocks you'll ever see in Africa. Again, just like the giraffe we saw earlier, very majestic as they walk. Not sure whether there's a little stretch on the wing. Try to realign the wing and the feathers of her left side, and they'll wait for any arthropods not very far from the water to feed on. And from a distance, always very difficult to tell male from female. Their sexual dimorphism is not very obvious. Karen, I agree with you. I mean, as just said, that you say is a very, very pretty bird. 100%. I agree with you. It is so beautiful overstock. So beautiful. And the girl who just came in today just got some spots.
I did. How's that for a welcome back? Now, I have to tell you something very, very funny before we even start off with which leopard this is that I'm trying to point the leopard out to Craig because I could barely see it. And Craig was so zoomed in and was like, where is it? And it just goes to show how incredible their camouflage is. Now, thankfully, Herbie and Ralph and Sebastian did manage to get an okay view of this cat, so they've told me that it is our dear friend Tundi, who is one of our favorite characters, and we get to see her every now and then, although she's also quite good at giving us the slip. Now, for those of you that haven't got a clue who Tundi is that she's the firstborn, her and her sister Shadow, who sadly, we don't know what happened to her. She's just missing. She's MIA at the moment. Perhaps she's in Hawaii on holiday, but we'll never know. But anyway, Tundi is around though, and she's the daughter of Karula. But Karula mysteriously disappeared in about March last year too. So she's quite happily taken over her territory and seems to be doing a very good job. Now, somewhere in this tall grass and all the shrubbery, you won't believe it, there's actually a young leopard cub, but I don't know where it is just yet. I haven't got a clue. I haven't seen it. It's very difficult to see anything. So what we are going to do is we're going to be a bit patient, and you might be able to hear another vehicle moving around. So Rexon is in the sighting too. I don't think they're going to stay very long. It sounds like they're moving out at the moment. So once he moves out and moves away, we'll then try and reposition and see if we can get a better view. Because I don't know if there's a kill here. I don't know where Tlalamba is. We're going to just see. Let's see what his decision is. Oh, he was just repositioning slightly. Okay, I think we might sit here just because otherwise we're going to get quite close to them and then it's going to be quite noisy. Can you imagine the two of us trying to compete? Have we lost it again, Craig? Craig's has lost the lemon. Hang on. Yeah, it's amazing. I'm going to point there. Okay, and you can go down a little bit. Then can you come out just a tiny touch? There we go. Bottom right-hand corner. It's amazing. Hey, so it just goes to show it's really, really difficult. But also there is a bit of glare on the screen every now and then, so it can be quite difficult to try and see where she is. But perfect time of the year now for the leopard. I'm still shocked as to how quickly the bush has changed. It's just incredible. And we say this every single year. I mean, you'd think after being here for 3 years, you'd know that the vegetation would change very quickly. But, you know, I'm surprised all the time. So she could have anything. I mean, she could have a whole buffalo in there and I wouldn't know. I doubt she has a buffalo, though. Oh, hello, Jessica. I missed you too. Thank you so much. Thank you for telling me that you missed me. I'm also glad to be back at work, and I'm definitely happy to be surrounded by wonderful wildlife. And I'm also keen to see what the next few weeks hold. And I believe that the Safari Lives, the show that we do, or the special show that we do on a Saturday, has been an absolute hit, and all the animals were incorporating appropriately. So isn't that good? At least, they have a few days off during the week, but then they arrive back on Saturday. Now, I think I've only ever seen Tundi's tracks in this area once before. And then we had, some of you may remember, a few weeks ago, where there was a leopard that was on the dam cam quite late one afternoon, and we couldn't relocate on it, and the leopard had disappeared. And then she was spotted again, and no one knew who she was because she was just slinking through the bush, and that was close. That was actually between where we are now and Vuyatela Dam. So, I've only been in this area once before with her. So it's quite cool that she's moving sort of further north. I'm being attacked by little mapani flies. That's what's getting me at the moment. Sorry, Craig. Just trying to get them away. I know that I think Brent has seen her a few times, a little bit further north and sort of west from where we are now, and I think Tristan has the same. So Shidulu's going to have to be very careful because this seems to be her sort of favorite spot, although she does prefer to hang around from Gallagher Road, which is just a little bit north of our camp. and then she sort of moves sort of further north of that and then further west again, all the way around back towards Triple M, which is one of the boundary roads, and then towards Gari Gate, which is the northern entrance to the Sabi Sand Game Reserve. And then she hangs around there. So, Tundi, you can't have it all, girl. She's got quite a big area that she traverses on, so she's all the way here, and we'll see her go into Torchwood. She goes very far east from where we are now and goes into Buffelshoek too. So she's definitely putting a lot of pressure on. And you know what? Maybe she'll be like her mother. Her mother had an exceptionally large territory too. It just kept growing and growing. And maybe that's the trait of Karula's offspring, is they're going to have her feistiness and, well, her want or to control the north. So very exciting times ahead. But hopefully little Salamba will pop her head out soon at some point too. Or maybe Tundi will move to a better viewing spot. But for now, we're going to put our feet up and relax in the sun, catch a tan. Off we go to Ralph, who I bet is still got the adrenaline pumping.
Well, adrenaline, I can tell you, has been pumping. We've just left that sighting with Taylor and Craig now, and we're stoked. It's almost like, well, we should go back to camp and grab a couple of beers. What do you reckon, huh? No. Game is not over. We've just started this drive. So, well, the drive has started, but we're out walking. What we're going to do now is we're going to go down near to Vuyatela Dam, and then we're going to take the little drainage line. Because, as I said, I think the theory that we were working on when we started this was that we're going to head into the areas, because it's so hot, where there's nice shade, there's some water around, and possibly we can find the animals hiding up in the shade. We do need to be careful for that one big buffalo bull that has also been walking around and will also be probably lying up in a muddy pool, and we could quite easily surprise him. So we're just going to come up here to the Vuyatela Dam wall and just have a look. I know you guys can probably see from the dam cam if there's anything on that side, but then we're going to head off into a southerly direction, actually following the contour of this drainage line. But we thought that we'd just start up here by the dam. Now, Rictus, thanks a lot for commending me on finding Tundi and Tlalamba, but I must say that it's a team effort. We've got Herbie the Game Scout, and he's obviously the one really following the trail, so probably most of the commending needs to go to him. He's done most of the work in trailing that cat. I just offer my opinion as we're going along, and but we were both in agreement that she was close by and that we had a really good chance of finding her. So she obviously earlier came down for a drink after she had killed that impala, and whether or not she's fed on it at all remains to be seen with Taylor, because all we could see was the fat belly of the impala lying there. It didn't look like there was any bite marks or anything just yet, so it might have been quite a big exertion for her, and in the heat of the day she's come down for a drink, she's returned to the kill, little baby there. They've got all the time in the world now to sit and feed nicely. The only thing that we're concerned about is the area that she's in. There's no real big trees for her to hoist that impala. It is a male ram, so they might need to eat a bit before she can actually lift it. But she's got till around sunset, I would say, until these hyenas come out, and if she hasn't hoisted it by then, she's going to lose it, because they're going to have a go at her and that little cub. So I would say she's either got to go down into the drainage line, find some of those big trees that are on the riverine edge of the drainage, or she's got to move up to where there's some big marula trees where she can hoist that. So she's got a little bit of work ahead of her. She can take her leave now and just rest up, get her strength, and then she needs to shift that meat. Otherwise, hyenas are coming, opportunists. They're going to take that food and it'll be gone. And all her energy expended on that would have been for nothing. So Taylor's off over there. She's back up that drainage line, and I'm going to send you back to her with Tundi, Tlalamba, and that impala kill.
Well, I think what we might have to do for the next few minutes is Tundi has decided that She's just going to stretch out and lay on her side. So you'll have to believe me when I say that there's a leopard there. For those of you that are only just joining us, now I promise you right now there is a leopard laying in that grass. But it's a hot day. It's not even a winter's day today. It feels like a summer's day. So she's just cooling off in the shade. But who knows? Maybe she'll pop her head up in a minute. I don't know where Tlalamba is. I haven't seen Tlalamba, but perhaps the laying on the side is a trend this afternoon, and she's copying her mom. So we're going to talk about all sorts of other wonderful things while we wait. Hey, Craig. So remember how I was telling you about the wild horses of Kaapse Hoop? Look how beautiful they are. I apologize, my screen on my camera is a little bit scratched. Let me angle it around. Look how beautiful they are. I'm going to flick through a few. Now, they're not exactly wild horses. Look how nice this is. I'm just going to keep scrolling. Some of them are really terrible photos, so I do apologize. We'll get to. I'll show you my favorite one. Now, they have been traced back to, of course, domestic horses. There's about 200 of them roaming in this area. And like I said, there's many stories as to why they are there, where they left after the Anglo-Boer War by the Brits. Who knows? Was it the circus? Did some escape? Where's my favorite one? It's coming, I promise. I'll show it to you. There. Look at this beautiful horse. Oh, it was so stunning. Now, there's a lot of forestry that sort of goes on in this area, and there's the big Sapi mill. And that's around here, so they make paper. I learned something new as well. Apparently Sapi has created their own pine tree. That's a combination of a pine tree, a gum tree, and a eucalyptus tree, and that's what they're growing here in this area. So it's not native stuff, and then they cut them down, and they also replenish. This was the big stallion in the herd, and he was marching about. Oi, that's a good shot. Bums of Africa. But he was not happy with me. He kept stopping and staring. Those are very overexposed. But I just thought it was so pretty. There's a whole lot more, but I won't bore you with all the horses. I just thought you'd maybe like to have a quick little glimpse of some of the wildest horses I'm probably going to see in Africa. Now, they're a common breed. They're called a boerpad. They're very stocky, hardy horses. They live out. No need to trim their feet, put a blanket on them. You know, they're able to survive the toughest of tough conditions out here in South Africa. Where is it? No, I can't see the leopard. Origin, that all that debris that you saw around those horses, that was just obviously some pine trees that had been cut down, and then they'd burnt the area, and what they will do is they'll eventually replant all the trees again once they've rehabilitated it slightly. And so that's what that was. And it just made for the most amazing contrasting photos. There are other photos of them, of course, standing in lovely tall grass, taller than the grass that Tundi is laying in. And they were just feeding on that right next to the road. But there were so many of them. I did see a lot more stallions than I did see mares, though. There were quite a few little bachelor groups of some young up-and-coming fellas. But it was so stunning. If you ever get a chance to come in, visit us in South Africa, I highly recommend Kaapse Hoop. A lovely little town, very, very small town. I can't even see Tundi breathing anymore. She's not saying she's dead, please don't panic. I don't know if she's maybe shuffled slightly in the grass. And now we just cannot see her at all. And I don't think any amount of repositioning is going to help us today. I think this is it. Until, what is the time? 4:10. I don't know where she is. Oh, hang on. Oh, my goodness, I see a twitch, Craig. Just above that tree. No, go to the left. Yeah, if you go in there, we go, straight in. There we go, I see some twitching, some moving around. I'm hoping Tlalamba is going to race out and pounce onto Mom. Wouldn't that be fabulous? That would probably get her to wake up and annoy her slightly. But there she is. Now, Philip, here's an interesting question, one that Tristan and I were discussing just before you left for the Mara, and we said, we actually came to the conclusion, well, again, it's just Tristan and our opinion, and we said that we think that the leopards down in the southern Sabi Sand, so along the Sand and the Sabi River, don't have massive territories like they do up here in north. And, well, Philip, this goes with your question, because it was about whether the territories of leopards will shrink where there's an increase in food. So I think so. I mean, the male leopards down there have got massive territories. However, the females didn't seem to traverse over as sort of bigger area. And and up here in the north, where we don't have the big river system, so I definitely think that the game density, so when I say game, I'm talking about like all the general animals from the different antelope species to zebra, you name it. I definitely think they're a lot less up here for a number of different reasons. There isn't as great grazing, and then there's also no permanent water sources. Animals will always hang around the rivers. And yeah, so I think so. Up here, I mean, just talking about Tundi's territory, it's massive. So she has to move out and go quite far in order to sometimes find food. Remember, just as her coat is camouflaging on the grass, so does an impala, so does an inyala. So she might not see every antelope species that's around. They could do a really good job of hiding too, and she could just keep missing them. So making her think, there's no animals in this area. When in fact, well, and they're just, doing a good job at hiding away, which is what they want to do. So yes, I definitely do think the more prey species that are around, for instance, that a leopard is able to eat, I definitely think that their territories shrink. And there's no need for them to then occupy a massive territory. I mean, if you can make a kill every second day, because there's just masses of groups of impala around, why would you need to go anywhere? Well, there's lots of bushbuck that hang along the river lines, lots of duiker, steenbok, they'll also be feeding along those drainage areas. So I think that, again, it's just my opinion. Tristan also agreed with me. But up here, goodness, these girls, they travel a serious distance. Right, well, it seems like Rexon is trying to desperately do a bit of repositioning and hope that Tundi will pop her head up. It's working for us at the moment. Perhaps we will do the same, but off you go to bushwalk to see, well, if Ralph is any closer, well, to getting his hands on that cold apple juice.
Well, everyone, not just yet. I'm not the kind of person to stray away from work. So we'll finish with our work and then we can go and relax next to the campfire. But for the time being, I want to bring you up a little bit back to the road because I saw some tracks that were leading along here that is very nice because it does illustrate the difference in the size of the two leopards that Taylor is watching. And we did see them coming along the road here. I just want to see if I can pick up them again because we strayed a bit and we were just seeing what other tracks we could find. And I just want to have a check here. Here we go. Here we've got some of the tracks just here. Now once again you can see that this track is obviously going that way. This is a back foot, quite elongated, nice and stretched, where you would see here is a front foot. It's not as clear. There's been a little bit of a scuff over there, but you see how much more round this track is compared to that one, which seems a little bit longer. So the front legs, much more sturdy upper body in leopards, and obviously the back legs a lot more elongated. It's quite similar with all the animals. Elephants as well, they've got that more rugby ball or football shaped back foot, whereas the front foot is like a soccer ball. And nice to see these tracks here. That looks like Tundi's track there, but we did have both. I just want to see, there's a lot of them and they've gone both ways, but the fresher one was leading up this way, and these are still both Tundi's. There they are there. Very clear tracks here, and they were all this morning and they haven't been driven upon. So this is the kind of thing that we were always looking for when we can follow up, and that's exactly what we did there. And just trying to bring you in, and it's a part of the tracking sort of scenario. And these are definitely Tundi's over here, both front feet, but that one was going that way, and this one obviously heading this way to where they've landed up. Straight up the road there where Taylor is now. But I'm not seeing little Tlalambas tracks now this time. Let's just have a look a little bit further along down the road and just see if we can spot any other ones. But it's absolutely fascinating how we can follow those tracks in and then get to the little kitty cats themselves. So it is wonderful. So there is now a little smaller track over there that looks like the little cubs track. So it's just nice to see the difference, although I don't have them both together. Anyway, it seems Taylor's got a little bird to show you at that leopard sighting.
I know, Ralph, poor Tundi is just so exhausted. Anyways, we found someone else to keep us entertained for the moment, and it is a brown-hooded kingfisher. It was so pleasant to hear the call of that kingfisher. It was beautiful. What did you spot, Craig? Did it fly off? Oh my goodness, I missed it completely. Now there's just these tiny little midges. Anyways, the brown-hooded kingfisher was a nice one to see. I'm going to try and... Do I have a bird book with me? We're going to have to show you on my mobile device a beautiful picture. But maybe not. But if you have a look in there... Nope, my app has decided to uninstall itself again. So one of the kingfishers that hang around and don't go anywhere. So I won't be able to show you anything, unfortunately. Anyways, we've discovered where Tundi is hiding her kill, so Ralph and Herbie and Seb were definitely on the money this afternoon when saying there was a kill here. I don't know if they were able to see it, but underneath this peltiforum lays a very, very still impala, and I don't think it's going to be getting up anytime soon. It is an impala ram, which I'm not surprised to see, as we know at this time of the year when the impala rams start to rut, so when they start gearing up for breeding, they, like we were chatting about earlier, they become a little bit tired. They also become preoccupied with everything else that's going around, and they forget that there are big predators about. What has just landed on it, Craig? Do you see that? Hoho. Hoho is a great South African word. It's a big fly. Describes insects. Probably going to lay some eggs on it. Anyways, that's going to be a good meal, except the only thing is that this area is a hot spot for hyenas. We often see hyenas around here, and we see lots of their tracks. Those are big flies, though. My goodness. Although those bottle flies, those blue ones, looks like it. Oh, they're going to get in there. They're going to lay their eggs. And if the hyenas don't get to this carcass, or if Tundi doesn't clean it up quick enough, it's going to be riddled with maggots. Doesn't that sound appetizing? Lucas, who's directing today, please can you repeat all that information you said to me? I was too... Oh, there we go. Vanelia. Lovely name. Very nice. Now, I don't think I've ever heard the name Vanelia before. Very cool. So, yes, other leopards will hunt in other leopards' territories. And, again, this will go down to food availability. Perhaps it is a young, naive leopard who doesn't know that there's, this territory is occupied. Or maybe it's a youngster trying to make a scene, trying to sort of say, hey, listen, I would like to take your spot. If you're not going to market very well, or tell everybody that, that you're living here, or you're at least moving through this area. So yes, that will happen indeed. And that's often when you can come across a little boxing match. They've been caught trespassing. Lots of flies and things, though. I'm surprised there aren't more, though. I would have expected there to be a few more. Florian, most certainly, Tundi would snarl and hiss and put her ears back if I dare got any closer to this impala kill. Now, luckily for us, though, in the Sabi Sand private game reserve in South Africa, this is the land of the leopards, and these cats, most of them, have seen vehicles, well, almost every single day. Some of them see vehicles all the time, so they're very, very much used to us, and so they don't mind it, and they're quite sort of tolerant, and you can get fairly close. I'm pretty sure she'd still come and feed here. I don't think that we are close enough to disturb her or anything, so I think we're good. Now, another thing, though, is you might be able to you can see there's Rexon's car there. They're looking in that way, so it kind of, somewhere in that thicket in sort of the distance, that's actually very pretty with all the golden light and all the spider webs sort of catching the light there. I think Tlalamba must be somewhere around. Now, Tlalamba is lovely. However, she's still quite shy. She's a young girl, and it's going to take her a little while to become settled with the vehicles and be as comfortable with the vehicles as Mom is. So we've just got to be patient with her. Every now and then when we still start the car, when we chat a bit loudly, she does get a bit nervous. I've seen it where the radios have blared, someone calling in a sighting, and she panics and she runs. She will get used to this. Eventually it will become like every day. I mean, she's growing up only knowing cars. She's not going to know a life without vehicles. So it's just a matter of time. And Tundi is super relaxed too. I think she's going to take right after Mom, and I don't think it's going to be a problem. Now, that impala doesn't look old. I think that was killed earlier today. I think that perhaps maybe after morning safari, somewhere around there, because not much has been eaten off of it at all, and the ground doesn't also look too disturbed. So when I say the ground doesn't look disturbed, it doesn't look like there have been leopards laying, flattening all that grass, which you can normally see quite easily, kind of just tucked away in there. There's a little bit of flattened grass, but not much at all. And again, with there not being many flies around, I think that's also an indication that it is fairly fresh. So very exciting. Now, talking about all the flies that have been sitting around on them, I reckon if we start checking some of the leaves now, we might see the flies sort of resting for the evening, because they're not really nocturnal. Oh, there's a couple. I can't see any gatherings just yet. So Kaya, no, all those flies hanging around on the carcass, it doesn't matter how many eggs they lay. You know what, if an animal's hungry, they're going to eat it, regardless of the matter. Extra protein. If you're a bush pig, on the other hand, oh my goodness, you will find that absolutely tasty. You know, I feel like that's adding your favorite spice to your meal, your favorite sauce to your meal, you know, that you think it just makes it that much better. But like, that's maggots to a bush pig. Now, a bush pig is not a warthog. It's also in the Suidae family, so it's related to pigs. They're quite cool looking. I'll have to use the interweb and search for an image at some point, and then I'll show you what a bush pig looks like. They're actually really cute when they're small, and then that's about it. So they'll come in and they'll feed on carcasses, but they're not necessarily going for all the chunks of flesh. They'd actually and prefer to go for the maggots. I've seen this. It's quite disgusting. In fact, is a carcass riddled. It looks like it's coming alive, but it's not. It's just all the maggots that are there. Bush pigs, you know, licking their lips, just having the greatest time. A whole family of them chucking on in. I don't think Tundi, however, would very much like a carcass with lots of maggots. Oh my goodness. Right, so I'm going to now search the interweb for a picture of bush pigs, of a young one and an old one, to show you when I next see you. Oh my goodness, but it seems as though the David Squared team, I think they're on Chitwa, have also managed to find something with a similar coat of Tundis.
Now from pigs, look at what the David just found. The very famous Tingana. How things are turning out for me from yesterday to today. We spoke of him earlier, and he had been spotted with a kill, which is not very far from where we are. It's right behind us. Nipalat, you know, he brought down crabbing last night. I'm not sure when, but look at this big boy here, Tingana. Very interesting, because he doesn't look very worried, and we're pretty close. I would say 10 feet. I can see the eyes, and he's like dead asleep. And what could I ask for today? Wild dogs yesterday, in the morning and in the afternoon. And now, the big boy Tingana. This is beautiful life for me here in South Africa. In Kenya, this is a very rare sighting. Paula, go, David, go, and also Paula, for you, thank you for the applause, Paula, and to you also, go, Paula, go, let's all go. The David's here, Paula, all of us, go. Exciting stuff for me, very epic. Got nothing close to what I have in East Africa, in Kenya, where I come from. You can see the panting there on the neck. Rexus, yes, I mean, since being here, this is my 3rd week, and just like you, he had not been spotted, so I'm sure you're equally excited like me, and let us enjoy the view of Tingana together. And looking at the belly, you can see how he's panting there, and tells you that belly is quite full. The impala is almost half eaten. and I'm sure the digestion is going on, and he's not staying very far away from his kill. I'm just enjoying this cat, this close. I can feel the panting in my heart. Minamu, your question is, do leopards or any other animals get dehydrated? Yes, Minamu. Imagine yourself having a very heavy meal of meat. I'm not sure that you eat meat, but imagine having eaten a very heavy meal of, say, meat only, proteins only. Your body digestion will definitely demand you get water. So they would get dehydrated. And that's why, more often than not, as we saw Shidulu the other day, after she ate, she went for a drink. So animals and most of predators like leopards and even lions and cheetahs, after they eat a very big meal of meat, of proteins, they get dehydrated and they'll always want to go and have a drink and quench their thirst. Yes, Minamu, they get dehydrated. And I think today is the day of leopard. Mine is a bit flat, but my Rafiki Taylor's leopard is on the move.
I'm excited to test David's patience to see how patient he's going to be. Although I've heard he's got good patient pants. They must make them well in Kenya, because he's apparently sat with wild dogs for 2 hours. How amazing, right? Tundi girl has decided to, well, grace us with her presence in the golden light. I think that's what she was waiting for. I think she thought, you know what, there's no ways I'll be seen in this harsh night. I am going to just come out when it's just beautiful and golden. And, well, let's be honest, she does look gorgeous in the golden light. And she's got a little pocket full of sunshine just on her face as she munches down on the impala. Now, girl, I really hope you decide to take this up a tree, because I don't think all this grass and all the shrubbery is going to protect you from the hyenas a little bit later. Now, Sammy Jane is, asking about if there's a good hoisting tree nearby. I'm having a look. No. Craig? Not any grand ones. I mean, if she'd taken up a dead knobthorn tree, that would be spectacular. However, that doesn't have much cover. And all the hyenas and things would probably just all come around. The vultures would then probably land close by and in the tree, and then they could bring lions around and they'd want to steal it, or another leopard. So there's not any spectacular hoisting trees here. However, leopards will do what they can. So there's a few little bush willows that I reckon if she gets desperate, she could probably take it up. It's not going to be very comfortable for her to feed on it. So she's going to make the most of it while it's down on the ground. Also, it's a big impala ram, fit, full of grass, just gorgeous at the moment too. And they're going to be quite heavy for, I suppose, for Tundi to try and take it up a tree. So maybe her plan is to actually try and eat as much of it as she can now, to lighten the load slightly. It didn't even look like she'd actually disemboweled it or anything yet. So perhaps if she does that, if she takes all the stomach contents out, that would be a good idea. And that would definitely help her. And I think she'd be able to then maneuver the carcass around a bit easier and put it in a bush willow tree. Because we know the bush willow trees, unfortunately, don't have the biggest branches. I can hear her just sort of chewing, like she's... I don't know, maybe some of you know the sound. Obviously, you've heard it every now and then. It might be a bit soft. It kind of sounds like you're using a blunt pair of scissors and you're trying to cut through gene material, for example. And I'd imagine that's what happens with that carnassial shear, those teeth. You're just sort of slicing away at it and just cutting it very, very slowly. Oh, those long whiskers, too. Now, Luke, there's a problem with my earpiece, so I'm just going to have to do a little maneuver here. I don't know why. I'm trying to blow air into my earpiece. Lucas, can you please talk for me again and see if it works this time? Oh, beautiful. You sound so This is Luke's favorite thing. He goes, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, can you hear me? And I would assume, Luke, that there is a dance that you'll show us later that goes with that. Very nice. I can hear you loud and clearly now. Luke is not doing it super fast, so quickly that I don't think I'd be able to repeat it. Now, she looks up at us every now and then. She's just keeping an eye on us. You might hear me. I want to eat all my macadamia nuts. That's all I want to do. I didn't have lunch today. I was silly. Now watching Tandy eat her impala has made me ravenous. So Craig and I have been snacking, not stacking. I suppose we could stack the nuts too. Snacking on macadamia nuts. Tandy, would you like a macadamia nut? I don't think you would enjoy it though. Nah, you can stick to your impala. These need more salt. If I must be honest. Anyways, Matt, it's very important that cats or any of the predators drink a large quantity of water after they've eaten, as it helps with digestion. So I'm sure you know the feeling. If you've ever indulged, say, in something like fast food, something that's not particularly good with you, and you've eaten a whole bunch more than you should have, and you sort of feel bloated and you kind of feel a little bit sick. And normally what relieves that sort of sicky feeling, if you will, sicky, that's not a word, but we use it in South Africa. I've definitely heard South Africans use sicky as a word. And you'll have a big glass of water, probably down a 500ml bottle of water, to be honest. Hey, Craig, do you do that? Craig does it every single night. No, I'm joking. He doesn't. Anyways, it just helps you feel a bit better, and it does help, I suppose, speed up the digestion process slightly. So they need to have a good drink. Sometimes, though, for you and I, ours will be nice and cold because we'll probably add ice to it, although I'm sure there's people out there who prefer room temperature water. I would not like to drink the water that Tandy's drinking, though. Imagine going to Vuyatela Dam and lapping up that lovely buffalo and hippo, perhaps a little bit of rhino and elephant dung and urine infused hot water with mud. Nah. I don't think that would be very tasty at all. What's she doing? She's looking around her. Keeps looking around. A couple of impalas snorkeling. That's the sound that the impala rams make. They snorkel. So maybe it's that. Perhaps she's heard something else. Anyways, so we've got this carcass down on the floor, and I don't know where I'm sending you to now, but apparently there's one up in a tree.
Yes, I think the cats are having a feast today, Tandy munching and dropping the carcass on the floor. But there's one boy by the name of Tingana who has made sure his food remains up on the tree and it's not coming down by any chance. What will happen is, by it coming down, the leopards will risk other predators coming to enjoy their sweat. So Tingana hooked in his meal up there so nicely, and you can see how the back legs are against the head, which is on the fork of that marula tree, making sure it does not come down by any standard or by, the head is facing up, and you can see the rib cage there. Julie, your question is, how long does it take for the maggots to appear on a carcass? That will entirely depend, number one, on the prey that is brought down by the predator, and two, the weather condition, because when it is cool, the carcasses tend to remain a little bit fresher than when it's hot like this. So I would say if that one stays up there another 2 days, on the fourth, fifth day, it might start getting some maggots in it. The other day we saw some tortoise, I think could have been killed by a leopard or anything, and it was full of maggots and it was not a very good sight. And our guess was that tortoise had been lying there for about 5 days. So for this particular one, up there, it's fresh air, I would guess, and like bang on the ground, and there's a lot of wind, and it gets a lot of very good shade from the branches of the marula tree there, and that would keep it fresh. I would say give or take 4 or 5 days, and you'll start seeing maggots on that carcass. Very clever way how the leopards will keep their prey up on the tree. And my joy continues of Tingana here. So a few minutes I was watching Tingana, and I'm watching the kill and trying to imagine how strong and their massive necks that they use to take a weight of impala, some up to 50, 60, 70 kilograms up a tree like that. Let's just keep enjoying that. The people doing the walk in the bush are still very active.
Well, everyone, very exciting. I have spotted some tracks of giraffe. Now, don't fall over that, Seb. I nearly did. And I'm really trying to find some giraffe because I want to show you a very clever little trick I have of getting giraffe to come to me. So the next time we spot a giraffe, it's going to be wonderful to show you that. Over my years of training trails rangers, we used to have lots of fun with calling the giraffe in. But we had some fresh tracks of them along the road now. We're just trying to see if there's any around. And we're heading up now towards Cheetah. So we're just trying to see if we can pick up on something different, because we've got now leopards falling out the trees along with the impala. So we want to try and find something else that can interest us that is not a cat per se. And we've got Cheetah just off to our left there. But we're just circling around because sometimes we do see some giraffe up this side. But as I say, there were some fresh tracks, but we haven't seen any just yet. But what a wonderful afternoon it's been so far. It's cooling down now nicely. That sun, as you can see, is dipping down towards the horizon, and it was very hot earlier. Okay, well, we've just got a report that we do need to be a little bit careful here, because that lone Duggar boy buffalo is somewhere near to Cheetah over there, and he might be around us here. He might have moved off into the shade, so we do need to just be a little bit wary, because the last thing we want to do is bump a buffalo. So while we try and avoid the buffalo, and in the meantime look for a giraffe that we can have a nice little sighting of that, let's head you back to Taylor with Thandi.
We've still got her. She's just munching away now. I don't know where Tlalamba is. She must be here somewhere. I think Rexon was looking at her at one point. He's now left. And he said something, he was whispering to me, he said something about Tlalamba hiding away in a thicket. So we will wait for her to come out to us. I, however, have been trying to get the interweb to work so that I can also show you pictures of little baby bush piglets, because they're so cute. Like, they are adorable, adorably cute. But I don't know, when I put bush pigs in here, then I get other things popping up too. They're quite cool. I'm trying to find a good one. Thandi, you're very nervous. Why don't you call your little one over? And she does not seem to be cooperating today. I'm trying to listen to see if I can hear Tlalamba making any noise in the grass, because she likes to play around in the grass. But I cannot. That's actually how we heard Thandi coming towards us. We couldn't even see her, but we just heard the grass sort of rustling. And then Craig and I both looked up and went, there's Thandi, right next to the car. Sorry, I'm shaking the vehicle because I'm being attacked by lots of these little flies at the moment. So I couldn't even tell you how much Thandi has already eaten, because on the carcass there was only a little bit that was looked like was taken off, and I couldn't really get a good view of her if I could see if she had a big bulging belly or not. That didn't seem to be the case. Internet is a very strange thing. I'm not a fan of it. We'll do that later. Now she tucked herself away again. I'm reluctant to move around with Thandi on this kill now, however. just because I know she can be a little bit antsy sometimes. And one minute she's fine with you, and the next minute those ears are flat back and she's snarling. So I think she prefers it when we're all sitting nice and steady and not racing around too much. Not that we've been racing. I mean, it's impossible to race around here at the moment. It's very thick where we are. Lots of little shrubs. No real big trees like we were talking about. There isn't a really good hoisting tree here. I mean, the only tree that there was, like I said to you, was that knobthorn, the one that we saw the kingfisher briefly sitting in earlier on the drive. That's the biggest tree that's out here. And that's not a very good place to store your breakfast or your dinner. Well, for her, I suppose it's an all-in-one meal. Giving a bit of a shake of her head too, so she's getting just as annoyed with the flies. However, I think that there may be some of those big bottle flies that are around there that are pestering her. They're probably getting annoyed with her too. They're just trying to lay their eggs. And there's this leopard eating on the impala. You can still see a bit of blood. So that's why I think, I don't know, maybe it's even fresher than we thought. I wonder if it maybe wasn't killed only a little while ago, maybe like 2 or 3 hours ago, maybe not as long ago as after the sunrise safari. Normally the blood coagulates and you don't get it sort of spewing out as much when they start to feast upon it. But it seems to be relatively bloody at the moment. How are these things going up our shirts? Go away. They also have learned today that these little midges and the mapani flies do not mind bug spray. I think it actually lures them in. Well, that's what I'm going with anyways, because I've sprayed so much of it. Now, Tandy can't seem to decide where she's feeding. She starts on the belly, and now she's sort of reaching around for further on the back. What have you heard? So she's listening. After every few bites, she pokes her head up just to look around, because just how we've been saying that it's difficult to spot these animals, it's, well, I suppose difficult for Tandy too. If another leopard were sneaking up on her, or if a hyena was making its way in and they'd be hearing these crunching sounds. Don't think you'd be able to hear them very well, I'm afraid. Now, Angie, we were just talking about this and thinking as to why she hasn't taken her carcass up a tree, as maybe it's too heavy for her for the moment, although Tandy has taken, like, female waterbuck. I don't think they're all intact, though. I think she disemboweled them. So, no, I haven't seen any stomach contents just yet, so I don't think that she has disemboweled this impala ram. It's very, 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 very fresh. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if rigor mortis hasn't quite set in just yet. I mean, it takes a couple of hours, but every time she sort of pulls, those joints seem to still be working and still to be moving slightly. So, like I said, maybe this is a lot fresher than we suspected. Maybe we just missed it. You know? Maybe that's why she was sitting down having a rest, is because she was exhausted after taking down that impala ram. And she needed a little bit of a break before she really tucked into it. And that can happen too. They don't necessarily have to just eat their meal straight away. Now, Francis, this is always a very difficult question to answer, and every guide is going to have a different, well, I suppose, opinion, because, maybe they've experienced different things. So, trying to decide between a lion and a leopard as an individual, who's a better hunter, it's a tough one. Because, leopards typically specialize in taking down smaller prey, whereas you look at a lion that normally lives in a pride, and unless it's a male on its own, or maybe it's a female lion that's perhaps had cubs and she's stashed them off and she doesn't want to go and rejoin the pride to feed, she's going to have to hunt on her own. It's going to be quite tough. So I'm probably going to go with, as an individual hunter, I'm going to go with a leopard. I think that they do it on their own so often that they're already used to it, whereas a lion is typically used to hunting in a team, and they'll have a special set of skills. Now to put all the responsibility on one cat that's not necessarily used to hunting on its own all the time, I think would be a little bit tricky. And I think the lions might feel that. But again, it's not impossible. We see lions that are on their own hunting all the time, and they make do. They seem to do all right as well. These guys are specialist solitary hunters. That's for sure. I'm just looking. I'm trying to think where, if she does drag it, where is she going to put this thing? It's going to have to be in one of these bush willows. I see something. There we go. Something's got her sitting up again. Beautiful girl, though, when she stares at you like that. Lachelle, unfortunately, I don't think there's a very good chance with any of leopard cubs making it to adulthood. Now, when a female has a litter of 3, she's lucky if she raises 1 to adulthood. Now, Tandi's just got young Tlalamba, so that little girl has got a very, very, very tough life ahead of her. However, Tandi has raised quite a few youngsters to sort of adulthood. I mean, well, actually, no, not a lot. Tamba, Kuchava, and I can't think of anybody else. Who else has she raised to adulthood? Am I missing somebody? Did she have or did she successfully raise a litter prior to Kuchava? Perhaps. Kuchava is also one of her daughters who we are fortunate to see every now and then on the eastern corner of Chitwa. We sometimes get to see them. Somebody's driving down here. I think they want to come into the sighting. I've got no radio comms, so they must just come on in. I think they have seen me. They definitely are slowing down. And here, those impala, they're all around here. I don't think that impala would have known what hit it. Tandi could have just been sneaking along the grass. Starting to tear at it a little bit more now. She seems to be using a bit more force, so perhaps her intentions are to disembowel it. I mean, normally lions, that's one of the first things you'll see them do is they take out the stomach. It's okay, girl, relax. She might be a bit snarly every now and then, and that's just because there'll be another vehicle moving around, but she is just like that. We'll just watch her and see how she goes. I mean, we're definitely going to not move. That's one thing you must also remember. When you young guides out there, it's so important to try and limit your movement in a sighting. So when you are going to reposition, sit and think about it first. Have a little look around. Think where you're going to go, how many turns is it going to take me to do, especially if it's a sensitive animal. I always think sometimes it's best to put a little bit of thought into it before you sort of dive straight into going into the sighting. And in an area like this where it's very thick, if it's a sensitive cat, driving over a branch or anything like that could set them off. You and I might think, but why? I can't understand. Maybe just doesn't like the sound of cracking branches. Like some of us don't like nails on a chalkboard, or people chewing, or, slurping, or what else? What are the weird things, Craig? I don't like touching velvet. That feeling for me is not very nice. So the same things could apply to a leopard. And you, Craig? The old chalkboard thing. Craig doesn't like nails on a chalkboard. That's also, I think that sends shivers down people's spines. But there's lots of sounds. So, I mean, if it's happening to you and I, why couldn't it happen to a leopard? I mean, there must be smells and sounds that they don't particularly enjoy. Again, we just can't talk to these animals. But I bet, I'd love to say to Tandi, I was like, Tandi, what do we do as guides that irritate you the most? She'd probably have a long list of things to say. What's that? Craig. I don't know what I've seen. I don't know if it's Tlalamba. You see, there. Can you look in there for me? Can you go... Let me just see, I thought I saw movement again. I thought I saw a black tip of a tail moving. I'm going to raise myself up a little bit. It is her. I think you're on it, Craig. I'm just going to point in there somewhere, but like on the grass. I thought I saw something. I don't know now. Oh, there we go. You got it. Bottom left-hand corner. Just sneaking behind all the trees. I can't see her, but Craig got us through the gaps. So that's what I did see. If you look very carefully, Craig, if you keep it there, she's just gone behind one of the little branches. But she's such a small branch. I don't want to move now. But some of you may have got a very quick glimpse of Tlalamba. She's there. She's just hiding behind those branches. So I think she's slowly going to make her around. There we go. You can see her moving directly in that branch at center frame. She's just licking her paws now. You can just see some movements every now and then. Can you actually see her, Craig? Okay, just checking. It's sneaky. Hello, girl, we got you. Yay! And I think little Tlalamba thinks, no one can see me hiding here. I'm invisible. Now, thank you, Sammy Jane, for your applauding emojis. That's very nice. I will take a bow at some point, but not right now. Maybe a little bit later. Actually, Ralph was the one and Herbie need to take a bow. Hello, little angel. Yes, we can see you in there. But you have no idea. Normally when she knows she's being watched, she stares at you because she's still a bit nervous of us. Now, Steve, I think the reason why Tandy's not calling young Tlalamba out is because she's probably tired of having to do so. It's kind of like, it's parenting, you know. Your mom will ask you, or she'll tell you, dinner's ready. Taylor, dinner's ready. I'm coming. And she's probably said that about 30 times, and now she just doesn't care. Now she's like, well, if you don't want to eat, then you don't eat. Tlalamba is still young enough to be suckling, though, but is also eating solids now. Let's see. She's going to try and sneak her way through here. We will just pretend like we don't know she's there. Little does she know. Oh, she's so sweet. She's so precious. She's beautiful, just like her mother. Although I think she looks a little bit like Shongile, don't you think? I think that face of hers just reminds me so much of Shongile. I don't know why. If it's the way her spots are positioned. There's just something about her. Got that very mischievous look to her. I suppose she lives up to her name, doesn't she? Now Luke was asking if I think that she's grown. Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, I'm hoping to obviously see her come out a bit closer. I'm just looking at her through the camera, which is quite difficult to try and gauge a size. I think in 2 weeks this little leopard has probably grown quite a bit. This is the time when she's going to be, well, putting on lots of weight, thanks to Mom, constantly catching nice things for them to eat. So I think that she definitely will be a little bit bigger. Now, Fluffy Asiko, no, I've never seen this before. I've never seen a leopard intentionally sort of tearing up the carcass to smaller bits so that her youngster may feed. I can smell, though, that Tandy has now opened up the stomach. That's for sure. Hey, Craig, take a deep breath. How delicious is that? It's nice, eh? We're sitting downwind as well, as I've discovered. Not that there's really much of a breeze this afternoon. It smells like old Brussels sprouts. Sorry. So no, the leopards don't do that. And lions don't do it either. They kind of just let them will chew at something, and eventually they'll get the hang of it. Obviously, this little one's, I'm pretty sure she should still have her little milk teeth. Maybe some of the more prominent teeth will be coming through now, so it's going to be difficult for her, but she'll get the hang of it eventually. Might have to try some more of those tender parts. Still taking a little bit of a rest, though. Eyes are heavy. This is so cool. I'm glad we got to see her. Amazing. Well, I'm going to try and guide these other lovely guests who have joined us to a good spot so that they can also enjoy. But off you go to David, I'm pretty sure that Carcass is still up in the tree.
Now, Tandy with the cub eating, and here, Tingana, that is Tingana's dinner. You might hear some little sound in the background there. There's other guests watching Tingana with us, so that should not worry you. But look at Tingana's dinner tonight, eh? Isn't that lovely? Look at that male impala. That's what's left of him now, and I think, to me, half of it is gone. And chances are this kill could have been from yesterday. Tingana, I've just found out he's a huge, very good-looking boy, and strong, and in very good shape, eh? So he's able, I would say, to devour male impala like this one in a few hours and reduce it to 50% of what he used to be when he was alive. This is a wonderful afternoon for these leopards here. Tandy and Talalamba enjoying the impala on the other end, and that's mother and a daughter. And here we have the good-looking, handsome Tingana, having his dinner there. He had some pretty good lunch and waiting to feed on much later. Very good camera work, Davey, there. Sorry again, there's a bit of sounds going on in the background there. So some other friends enjoying the sight of Tingana as we are enjoying the dinner ourselves. Some of the marks you see on the trees in the bush are either caused by predators when they're sharpening their nails, like the leopards, for example.
Well, everybody, seeing as you guys are watching some of the leopards on kills, where we've got Tingana and we've got Tandi with little Tlalamba, both with impala kills. Here we're looking at a little bit of a scratch mark on a marula tree. This is a perfect leopard tree, if you can see it in its totality. I mean, easy way up, and nice, easy way to line it. Now, Sebastian, who's on the camera, who's my wingman this afternoon, he is one of the longest lasting employees of Wild Earth, and he says to me that Karula was on this exact tree 2010, 2011. It was a long time ago, and Seb's just nodding in agreement there. But he says that time, so Tandi's mother, who is now, we believe, passed on, was lying on this exact tree a good few years ago. But nice just to think of that. And a lot of leopard scratch marks as we started off there. You could see that one, but there's a very deep one over here. This one and this one actually looks like, because it's underneath the branch, I'm wondering if the leopard was lying up there and it possibly either stretching while it was sleeping, or it possibly even sleeping and maybe sort of rolled and started to fall off the branch, and then that was grabbing on. Either or. But that could have been from Karula, who knows? I'm sure there's been a lot of leopards lying on this exact tree, probably long before Karula, and will probably be long after her as well. I'm sure Tandi's been up this tree. Maybe Tlalamba will be up this tree as well. So you see how these marula trees, they are really watching the ages of the leopards as they go through all the different generations. It's fascinating to walk in this in these areas where these leopards have been around for so many years. And if only the trees could talk, especially we talk about the leadwoods and their age, but specifically the marulas, and if they could talk and tell us the stories of the different generations of leopard, it would be fascinating. And, this has also been smoothed off nicely by an elephant, I would imagine. He's been coming, lots of elephants as well, coming and rubbing themselves after they've been for a lovely bath. There's nothing else big enough to be doing that. And I can just imagine a lovely big fat bottom of an elephant rubbing on here like a warthog does on a stone next to a little water pan. It would be quite interesting. So, since we've been talking about these leopards and climbing trees, etc., off to Taylor with Tlalamba on the move.
No, I think we're being stalked by this young leopard cub. No, I'm joking. We're not being stalked. She's practicing her stalking skills at the moment. Again, I think she doesn't know that we know that she is there. So again, we're going to just pretend, and I'm going to keep talking sort of naturally, and we're going to see how close she comes to the car. But look at her, what she's putting. Look where she's putting her foot, making sure she doesn't rustle any grass. She's desperately trying to sneak. And I think this is the best thing now, is that if we just pretend like she's not here, she'll probably feel very comfortable with us. And I wonder if it was that appetizing smell of Brussels sprouts that emerged from the cavity, or stomach cavity of the impala, that has perhaps enticed her to come over this afternoon. I would love to see her having a little nibble before the sun goes down, because we've maybe only got about 10 to 15 minutes left in the sighting before we are going to have to say bon voyage to young Tlalamba and also Tundi. So here she goes. She's sneaking now. She's gone, the gap's a bit tight there. I think I'm going to go the scenic way around. But what she doesn't know is that there is another vehicle just waiting in the distance, hoping to get a glimpse of her. So that'll be quite exciting for Lex and his guests, who are in the other vehicle at the moment, also just waiting patiently until she pops out. We don't get to spend, too much time with Tlalamba, but as she gets a bit braver, we will see her more and more frequently. Again, I'm not worried. Now, she's still going. She's going through a jungle gym of trees, as you can see. That's a good spot. She might pick up the pace slightly there. She's got a bit more cover. But anyways, just as we're watching her, I was going to say thank you to James Richard. I popped onto Twitter to have a quick look to see with regards to Tundi's previous offspring. And I do remember the name Wabayiza, and I remember Tristan telling me about Wabayiza being killed by the Styx Pride. And so that was Tundi's first litter, but I couldn't actually remember the fact that it was from Tundi. And then the other, sorry, Craig, I'm just reading at the moment. I'm on Twitter. No, it's okay. And then the other one was Bahuti, who was from her second litter. And I don't know where Bahuti is now, though. But sadly, Wabayiza's not with us anymore. So yeah, let's see. I'm just trying to now see. Can you see her? If you can see her. Okay, Craig has got her again. How far is she, Craig? I want to get Lex's attention. Psst. Trying to call Lex, because they're going to miss the gap, and they're going to miss seeing as she sort of pops out. And I do want them to just keep an eye out for her. But she's in there. She's sneaky. Look at that, Craig. That's very well spotted. You must have eaten lots of carrots on your holiday. Well, now that you haven't got Brent here anymore to steal your carrots, it's normally a competition between Brent and Craig. Who can eat the most carrots and mushrooms raw on an afternoon safari? Brent has just gone on holiday, everybody. Don't panic. He hasn't left us or anything like that. He's not here to directly compete with Craig. Now, I'm trying to spot her with my eyes. I'm actually going to try and look up to see. Oh, there. I'm just pointing out to Lex. Lex, she's going to come out now. She should be in the open. If you watch to that thicket, I'm just trying to point it out to Lex. Because if he knew exactly where she was, he'd be able to see her. But she's sneaky, this little girl. So I was just doing little whistles and things like that. That could be a bird calling, could be a southern bobo, could be anything like that. I think Lex is just looking a little bit too far. No, maybe they got it. I'm just trying to get their attention again. I don't think you can see her. There we go. Now she's out nicely. So they're going to actually have a nice view of her. But there she's sneaking again through the grass. She's so sneaky. She's going to sit down and have a little rest now. I think she's gone, oh my goodness, there's another safari vehicle. How am I going to get from point A to point B? Yes, Tlalamba, we can see you, girl. See, she's looking at us. Still watching us. She's very precious in the way that she goes about. But we'll act so surprised when we see her on the kill and just be like, oh, where did you come from? I don't know, maybe she needs, something like that in her life. And perhaps it'll just encourage her to sneak around us more often. And we'll just be able to watch her like that. Now, you won't be able to see Tundi either, because Tundi's decided to lay down and just relax. You might see some spots again. If you go into that main and then to the right, you can see her there. You can see her tail moving. So she's a bit full. Or maybe she's just tired again. It is starting to cool down nicely though. And then I think we're actually going to get a really nice view of Tlalamba He's sneaking. I'm actually going to have to send Lex a link of the sighting of Tlalamba sneaking. Obviously, we're lucky we've got these big cameras we can zoom right in and watch things, much closer than anyone else is able to. And I bet he'd have quite a chuckle as to how she sort of very sneakily moved in between the two of us. There she goes. I don't think they'll be able to see her now. But you got her. She's basically directly between you and I. She's just in the grass. She was actually watching you over there. There you go. I think Lex has finally got her. Sorry if my head was in the way. But I do, if anybody's going to appreciate this, it's going to be Lex, who's been in the safari industry for a very, very long time and actually helped pioneer it to what it is today. And again, you saw when I talk a little bit louder, she probably will flinch and slink down into the grass, but she's going to get used to it because, goodness, what happens if I did a big sneeze now, hey? She's going to have a heart attack. So best you get used to that before I have a sneezing attack. Now she seems a bit more confident. See how she's stood up? She's not slinking as much, and she's close to us. There we go. Mom spotted her. Let's go see if we're going to probably say hello to one another now. No, not even interested. You're going straight in for dinner. Standing on the carcass now. This is fabulous. What a great afternoon. Definitely an amazing way to be welcomed back to the Lowveld. That's for sure. Very tasty. I'm sure that skin is going to be a little bit on the difficult side to try and get through. But nothing that I think she can't handle. Another thought-provoking question. Thanks, Mina Moo. I'm glad you're enjoying your little nickname that we have given you. Who wastes more energy while hunting, lions or leopards? I have to say that one out loud to myself so I can also think. It's a tough one. I mean, obviously all these animals don't want to waste energy. They want to use as little as possible. So I suppose, if you look at something that stalks, you're probably thinking, oh, that can't be conserving. They can't be using too much energy. And I think the complete opposite. If you've seen how those leopards have completely tensed up their bodies and held themselves in the same spot, barely even twitching an ear or a whisker, to me, that's like, holding a squat for 10 minutes. You're going to be tired. It's exhausting. Your muscles are really at strain. So I think maybe a lion. Lions obviously run a little bit more than a leopard would. A leopard needs to get as close to its prey as absolutely possible, whereas lions, again, they're working in a team, and obviously they try and stalk as close as they can, but they do that charge. They'll run 50 to 60 meters if they need to at full speed. Sometimes the chase can go on a little bit longer than that. Obviously, it's not ideal, but they do run after. I've seen them running after a few hundred meters after warthogs, and either successfully getting them or unfortunately missing out. So I think I'm going to say a lion. I think uses a lot more energy when it is hunting, whereas a leopard. Well, I think with that not running, probably is the deciding factor there. But again, it's all, you can let me know, what are your thoughts? What do you think when you sit and watch? Very cool. Now, we have got School Drive joining us a little bit later, but I think, sadly, we're going to have to say goodbye to Tandia and Tlalamba just for today. We'll definitely be coming back here tomorrow, and it seems as though Ralph has found him the most perfect scene.
Look at that sunset, and just in front of it, a dazzle of zebra. Fantastic. We've got some coursers flying above us, making their little calls, and that is beautiful. We came here looking for giraffe, but landed up that we got zebra. And with that sun setting in the background with that beautiful golden colors coming through there now, it is stunning. Thanks for joining us here on Quarantine Zebra. This was the area that Shadulu yesterday had that impala up a tree. So it's all happening, and wow, it's a beautiful afternoon. It was really hot earlier. It's cooled off nicely now with the sun starting to drop down, and these autumn days for me are some of the best out here in South Africa, especially in the Lowveld, in the bush. It's just so comfortable. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's just perfect, I would say. And the animals also seem to enjoy it. It's starting to cool off. Rosalind, I agree with you. It is so beautiful indeed. And look at the clouds there. A little bit of clouds always makes for a beautiful sunset. It just adds to a bit of the reflection and colours. As we start to see on the opposite side also lots of blues and pinks, and it's just absolutely lovely. And so now is the time when all the sort of day active animals are starting to find their burrows, find their roosts, and the zebra impala animals like to come out over onto the plains here. They seem to like it out in the open, a little bit easier for them to discover or to pick up if there's predators coming towards them. So as Seb just pans across there, because those zebra are moving off a little bit, heading towards the bushbrae area, but they're not too worried about us. They did have a good look at us, and it looks like the stallion sort of coming up from right at the back there. You very often find the stallion with zebra is normally the one in the front when there's something or danger nearby, and then he's at the back when they're sort of walking away. Speaking of walking away, I think we're also going to start to do exactly that. So, and there goes a couple of little parrots and green pigeons flying across. Lovely time for birding as well. Okay, we're heading back towards camp. Going to go jump in the tent. In the meantime, off to David with those beautiful leopards.
Hello, all of you school kids, and look what we have for you to open our sunset drive today. We got a beautiful sunset there, and there's a dead tree you see in front of the sun going down, and there's a mast there that we normally use when we broadcast, and you see that one right there with the dishes. When we broadcast or when we bring to you these great experiences, we use masts like that. And to all of you from the Shauna Meseneka School and from the Diamond Spring School, a very big and warm welcome. My name is David, and on the camera is my brother with the same name, David. How exciting to have you all on board. Please remember to tell or to request your teachers to ask us so many questions. We are three of us here to bring you this wonderful sunset drive. It's myself, and there's another beautiful girl by the name of Taylor, and we have another gentleman by the name of Ralph. So send us many questions as you want, and we'll be more than happy to answer you as we see the sun going down. All right, so we'll be heading up to one of our spots that I truly love, and that area is a waterhole, and it's a great spot to love. It's always full of activity as it cools off now, and that's the direction I want us to go. It's not very far from here. It's about 5 minutes. In the meantime, please prepare your questions for us. All right, let's see what's happening by the waterhole. Not necessary questions, even comments. And as I said earlier, there's another girl who has been away on leave, and she would like to say hello to all the school kids.
Welcome. I'm very excited to answer all of your questions this afternoon. My name is Taylor, and behind the camera controlling that amazing piece of equipment is Craig. And we are working together today, and we're hopefully going to find live animals. Now, I do want to just tell you, we did have a really cool sighting of a young leopard, and we had also her mom with her, and they were eating an impala, the same animal that Tingana, that male leopard that David Scott was eating, not the same one, a different one. But unfortunately, that little cub is so young, and the kill is down on the ground, and she wasn't clever like Tingana. She didn't take it up to the top of the tree, so it's a little bit dangerous to be around there with the vehicles, because the hyenas might come and have a look, and if something goes wrong, you know, we want to make sure that there's enough space so that those leopards can get away if they have to. There are some trees that they can climb up to, so we're not going to see them after night. We will try and find them again another time, but at least you've got a leopard with David. Now, it's getting quite exciting because the sun is just starting to set now. I'm getting a bit chilly. I might have to put a few jerseys on. I wonder, Luke's directing the show, so he's the bird talking to me in my ear. What's the temperature at the moment? Let's see, let's find out, because it was quite hot today. So earlier,
right just before we got to the waterhole, kids, we have found some interesting antelopes for you, and we call these ones here Nyala, Nyala. Nyala, the kind of antelopes, and if you look at them carefully, they got different colors, and some have horns. The one you see there on your screen there, that is a female, and the wizard boy here called David, he is going to show you a male which is much darker in color than the female, and that there, it's a male. So two differences between the male and the female. These ones are much darker. 1, 2, bigger in size. 3, they got horns. The other one was a bit brown, much smaller, and did not have horns on the head. Isn't that exciting, kids? Look at how beautiful he looks, very majestic as he walks, and he's going to join the group of females that are in front of it. Different colors, you see all the hair he got on the body there. And just a few minutes ago we had a huge buck which we thought was a waterbuck, and you never know. Sometimes when you hear these bucks is always an indication of a predator, and it could be anything. It could be lions, it could be leopards, or, you know, it could be hyenas. So what we'll do now, because we have seen our first animals, we'll head now to the waterhole and see what could be happening there. And I think you kids are very lucky. We have started very well. Sorry, what did Taylor ask?
Just ask me for the question again.
Taylor, your question is, why did they have horns? Here in the wilderness, what happens? Males tend to fight among themselves, and you can imagine it's like a soldier going to a war. So a soldier will need a gun to fight with, and that's why you see the males will have the horns, because they will need them when they go fighting with each other. All right, Kayla, I hope that helps to answer your question. Females in general don't fight a lot, so it's males that will always be going for each other, and they will need those horns to have some quite fair fight. And more often than not, they'll fight over the females, or they'll fight to be in a particular area, to own a particular territory. All right, some francolins there going. Sometimes they're scooped by some cats moving. It could be anything. But we're heading to the waterhole for you to see what could be happening there. We should be there in another 5 or so minutes. early on the drive, the temperatures were very high, but now it has cooled off very well. So remember, we are waiting for your questions, and not only questions, please give us your comments or your feelings or what you think about the safari and what we're bringing you. Nice question, Jaden. Why did the antelope have the stripes? Those stripes, because there's so many animals that will go for each other. We got animals that we call predators. Predators are those animals that will eat other animals for them to survive and to live. So what Mother Nature does, or how the animals are, they'll have stripes so that when they go in the bush, they can blend in and hide, and then the predators will have a problem to spot them. And that's the reason why they'll have the stripes on their bodies. Saha, there's so many types of antelopes in Africa. Very, very, very different. So what we just saw is just one of them. And we'll see maybe by the end of our drive today how many other types we shall have shown you. We got what we just saw called the Nyala. We got another type called Impala. We got another type called the Thompson Gazelle. We got another type called the Grans Gazelle. We got other types called waterbacks, eland. There are so many of them, Saha. And that's a very good question to know or to ask, Saha. And you're getting now very close to the waterhole. And then you'd like to know, why do antelopes shake their ears? It's for a few reasons. Number one, what I would say is when they do that, they will need to locate if there's any movement, say, of a predator. A predator, I'm talking about animals that may come to hunt them. So they'll move their ears from one side to the other to pick up any sounds. And look at the invitation kits you have for you today with those impalas there. I mean, with those hippopotamus there, sorry. How beautiful. This is the Cheetah waterhole, and it's full of big mammals called the hippopotamus, what you can see in the water there. And they'll stay there to cool off, coming out only at night at dusk to feed. Very good, very good. And you can hear them splashing the water, snorting there. Just listen to that. And what they're saying there is hello to all of you nice kids of Shauna Mary Seneca School and the Diamond Springs Elementary School. They're just saying hello to all of you. That's the hippo language of saying hello. You notice how they splash the water out if it gets into their noses. Vostok would like to know if hippos are born live or they hatch from eggs. Hippos, just like me and all of you, are what we call mammals. And mammals will give birth to live ones. So hippos will give birth to live baby hippos. Very interesting question there. I like your question. Terry, good question, and you're asking, are hippos omnivores? And I would say hippos are vegetarians. hippos are vegetarians, and you know the difference between omnivores and vegetarians. I'm sure you're a bright kid. Omnivores will eat both green and will sit and opening the mouth saying hello to you as I answer your question. Ooh, big yawn. Well done. So hippos are vegetarians in the sense that hippos will only eat green matter and, you know, be it grass, that's what they feed on more, and will not eat any kind of meat. So very nice to see them all there, and as it gets darker, it will be the time for them to come out of the water to go and start foraging or eating grass. Helene, you're asking how do hippos clean themselves, and you'd imagine how lucky they are, because hippos will not be able to control their body temperatures nicely, for example, when they are out of the sun. So too much sun would easily kill a hippo if it is exposed outside for a long time. And for that reason, they will tend to come in the water to cool off. And you would imagine you are like, say, in a bathing tub, for example, a whole day. You remain sparkless clean, and that's how they'll clean themselves. They're in water for like 10, 11 hours during the day, only coming out at night. They get a bit of dust, a bit of mud here and there as they feed, or they go through the bushes, and as soon as they come back to the water early in the morning, they'll clean themselves. Beautiful fish you go there. Nice. There was a fish eagle, and fish eagles are big birds of prey that they will feed or fish in the water. That huge eagle was big, and my colleague Taylor got a smaller one than that big fish eagle we just saw. She got a smaller one.
We have got 3 smaller ones, but they're not fish eagles. These are called blacksmith lapwings, and they are bossier than that big bird. Yeah, you heard me right. These little birds here are very territorial. They normally live around the edge of some water. There's water not too far away from us, but we can't really see it too nicely, so we won't worry about it. It's a little pan. And if anything like a fish eagle dare to go down for a drink, or an Egyptian goose gets too close, or perhaps even sometimes an impala goes to have a drink at the dam, they don't like it. They get very, very upset, and they make a cackling noise, and they start shouting at all the animals, telling them to go away. But they're not telling us to go away now. They are focused on eating all the little insects that have come out. And it's been a very warm day. Remember, I was telling you it was warm, and now it's not so warm anymore because I've had to put all my jerseys on. But these little birds are making the most of it. You can see how they run very quickly, and they peck on the ground. So they're not going to fly around and catch insects that are in the sky. They will feed on the ground like this. Look at them. Imagine how good their eyesight must be, that they can move so quickly and spot the teeniest tiny insects. I bet you, if it were to peck on the ground, we wouldn't even be able to see what it's going for. We might see a few flies just moving past every now and then, coming right up to us too. They're really cool birds. Now, I said to you that they're called blacksmith lapwings and that they don't have the nicest call. A lot of the birds out here get their names from the sound that they make. And the blacksmith lapwing is one of them. It sounds like somebody is striking metal. Oh, there's termites or something on the ground. I could actually see them, or ants moving around. I think there might be some harvester termites. Can you see all those things moving around? Just on the bay. You have to look very carefully, and I reckon your young eyes will probably be able to spot them. See, there's lots of them. They're all fleeing now. They're all trying to get away. So I think there might have been termites that were collecting grass, and that was the entrance of their little tunnel. There we go. That's a good meal. Termites are delicious. Even I enjoy eating them. You should try and taste one day. Here is the other one, gone back to the grass. I wonder why it left its meal. Now, remember, you can actually ask us all sorts of questions. So come on, who's going to be brave enough to ask me my first question? You can just ask your teacher. But there's still somebody else, and I bet he's looking a bit like a mad scientist this evening, and he's in the tent.
Hello to all the kids from the different schools. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and we were out on the bushwalk, but we've had to come back into the tent because it's starting to get a little bit dark. So I don't want to be out there when there's leopards and lions walking around, hey, because they're not very safe around us at night especially. So we've come into the tent, and we've got all sorts of things here that we're going to be showing you. We've got bones of elephants and buffalo skulls up there, and this is a wildebeest skull, and we've got all sorts of other things. But what about, have you ever seen a warthog skull? That is very interesting as well. And you've been watching some hippos where you were. Well, a warthog is probably about, he's like a little small dog compared to the hippo, but look how big he is compared to me. He's a lot bigger than me, isn't he? So just imagine if you see a warthog next to a hippo, then just imagine me next to the warthog. It's very interesting to see how big they actually are. When a warthog looks so small and the hippo looks so big, well, that hippo is huge. And here's a big bone of probably an elephant. Oh, yes, look how heavy that is. Now, Dawa, well, I'm not quite sure exactly how long these bones have been here, but they're heavy anyway, and I'm sure this is a leg bone of one of those big elephants that have been walking around. I don't know if you've seen any just yet, but hopefully we will at some stage show you guys. But all I can say is I wouldn't like to be helping an elephant around because it's really making me seriously tired. Put that back over there. Oopsie. And I can tell you something like a buffalo as well, when he's alive, obviously, would also be a big, massive animal like you've got in America with the bison. But our buffalo don't have as much hair as a bison would have. They've got a nice thick skin, and they like to wallow in the mud. But we've got all sorts of other skulls here. I want to look for one in particular. Now, Harleen, all mammals have got skeletons. We're part of the vertebrates, so I'm not going to go too deep into that, but all mammals have got skeletons, but it's inside our body. There are animals that have skeletons which are outside of their body, are like your insects, all the beetles and little creepy crawlies. Those are the ones that have got their shells on the outside, whereas our skeleton is covered by our skin and it's on the inside. And that's where you've been seeing some of those leopards out there. And this is a little skull of a leopard. Looks quite little, doesn't it? But look how big those teeth are. There's very big teeth on them, and that's so that they can catch and kill the animals that they need to eat. So very nice to see, isn't it? So it seems like we are going to be looking around for all sorts of different things here. So don't go anywhere, but we're going to send you back to David at that wonderful dam.
Right, you can see how the sunset leaves beautiful colors of the sky, orange, peach, yellow, a bit of bluish as the sun went down, and some of it is getting reflected in this waterhole here and making everything very, very, very colorful. And we are waiting for hippos as it warms up for them, or they think it's time to get out of the water and go start feeding. Haven't you got a question? I'd like to know whether male hippos and females behave differently. Yes, they behave differently. Earlier on, we were answering a question before of how or why some of the antelopes have horns, and we say they have got horns because they need them for fighting. Now, the hippos, the male hippos here, you'll see them becoming not aggressive, but they'll want to show all the other males, we own this area. So what the males may do and the females will not do is, for example, to open their mouth. We saw a few minutes ago one was opening his mouth, and sometimes they open their mouth not actually to yawn, but they leave it open for a long time just to make sure all the other males see it. And the same question asking how wide. Sometimes they go up to 60, 70 degrees wide, opening their mouth, you know. Huge, huge. And that will be done by the males. That's your question there, how wide they can open their mouth. So females in general may yawn, but will not do that. And if you see another male hippo coming close to an area with another hippo, they might go for each other, but generally females don't do that. I'm not sure you can hear that, but there's a bird making some noise called a lapwing plover. Yeah, that is the bird making noise, just flew up there. And Abby, yeah, very good there. That's the lapwing. It's called the blacksmith lapwing. And Abby, your question is, how do hippos communicate? When you got here earlier, you had them go. That's how they communicate. What they say, I do not have a clue, but they'll make all this kind of sound, and they'll be communicating to each other and passing messages. We might be lucky to hear a bit of communication, Abby, before we leave this waterhole. Children, you'd like to know whether hippos are nocturnal, and I would say yes and no. Yes, when they go out, because normally they'll go out and feed and get their grass at night, and then during the day they're back in the water. So they're both nocturnal and diurnal. In the water, they'll be there, they'll be standing there, they'll have some nap, they'll sleep, they'll wake up, they look around and wait until it gets dark, and they come out at night. So it depends on how you're looking at them. I would say they're both nocturnal and diurnal. What a good question. One is trying to pop up itself and walking slowly towards the bank. And we might be moving to infrared now. What we normally do, we don't shine a lot of light to the animals, and we'll be switching on to infrared when you come. And Taylor got something interesting for you.
Oh, sorry everybody, we're just getting ready. Apologies for that. Anyways, so look how beautiful the sky is. Look at all those different colors. Now, the sunsets in Africa just seem to be beautiful, but I'm probably a little bit biased too. Now, remember how I was telling you about those birds, the blacksmith lapwings? They now, of course, have stopped calling, but they were calling just now. They're just somewhere there. There's one. Let's see if we can hear them. I hope you can hear them. Anyways, they make that sound that's like 10 times louder than that. It kind of pierces your ears. It's not necessarily a very, very nice sound to hear, especially when they're so close to you. These guys are unhappy about something. Well, maybe they're just having an argument between one another. Very cool. But let's carry on. Let's see. I said, Craig, we're going to see a leopard tonight. Another one. I said, we're going to see Hukamuri. He's going to come walking down the road. Well, that's what I'm telling nature anyway, and hopefully we're going to get it. Now, you can see I've got my spotlight out, which is very cool. So I'm going to be using it to shine around. I'm going to check the trees. Maybe we get to see an owl sitting out waiting for a rodent or a scrub hare. It's making the steak and then it'll gobble it all up. And what else could we see? We could see hyenas. This is the time of the evening that a hyena will come out. And we could even still see some snakes. I'm wondering if we're going to see any chameleons. It's been a warm day, so we might see a chameleon on a tree. So I will use my spotlight and we'll put on the side lights. That one's not aimed very well, but I'll have to stretch over it and fix it in a little bit. Can't do that while I'm driving. So I can find all sorts of amazing things on the go. And I'll keep checking up in the big trees too, because who knows, maybe there's a leopard that's just waking up from a sleep. That could be a possibility too. And that's what is so exciting about a safari, is that there's just lots of things everywhere. You just have to know where to look, and you've got to look very, very carefully too. Kanala, now, you wanting to know exactly why those birds were black and white. Well, I suppose it's the same reason why I have blonde hair and blue eyes. Genetics, they were made that way. That's how all the blacksmith lapwings look. Maybe there'll be some that are a little bit different, but 99% of the time they're black and white. They even have a little bit of grey on them too if you look carefully. But you don't see that. No, you won't be seeing that very nicely with it being so dark. So that is just the way that they are. And it's quite effective, hey, having that black and white coloration. Maybe not to hide away, although if they sit very, very still on the ground, they're quite camouflaged. But what those birds will do is if they get angry, so say an elephant comes too close to their nest, because they lay their eggs on the ground, they don't make a big nest. They actually don't make a nest at all. They just kind of scrape the ground a little bit, and there's a few little rocks around that help camouflage those eggs. And I'm just checking here. No, it's not anything interesting. And when they get cross, they'll do this. They'll open their wings and they'll face the elephant or a leopard or a lion, and they'll go ka, 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 and make a noise. And that, all those black and white markings underneath their wings, when their wings standing up, makes them look quite big and scary. And sometimes they can make an elephant, you know, go the long way around, rather than going straight over the top of its nest. So it works quite well. Works very well. Now, it seems as though birds is going to be the theme tonight. I'm going to search for an owl for you. David has got some other birds, but they're not an owl.
Right, we are doing lots of bats today, kids, and Taylor might be trying to look for an owl that normally come out at night. And now we got some nice birds here, which are ending the day. And I'm saying they're ending the day because they are patching, or they have gone up that tree, and that's where they are going to spend their night. Can you imagine? Holding on those small branches for the next 10-12 hours. Look at that. So what they're doing now, they're fighting for space, everybody to get some comfortable spot, because the moment you balance and the moment you know where you're staying, that's where you're going to stay until the morning. And these birds here are called guinea fowls, and they're very, very similar to the hens that sometimes people will have in their homes. Why they would go on the tree there is to make sure they are not preyed upon, or they are not eaten by bigger birds or by other animals like leopards or lions, because they'll always come for them. And if you look on that tree, it's not big enough, or it's not strong enough, for example, to hold a leopard. A leopard can climb a tree, but that's not a very big tree for a leopard to go up. All right, I told you the hippos will say hello to you, and there they are. And that's how they communicate. What they say is only them who knows, but again, as it's getting dark for them here and for us here, they're making maybe or deciding where do we go feed, is it time to go, or what time do you go out? Joban, you'd like to know if hippos have any predators, and I would say yes, hippos will be eaten by big cats, for example lions, and lions have been known to go for hippos. As you see them there in the water, when they come out, they are always very, very careful. So the biggest predator, Joban, did you hear that? Haha. The biggest predator of the hippos would be lions. And you can see the feathers flying out there from those guinea fowls. Well, here you're asking, why do the hippos have such huge mouths to eat, and they eat grass? I would say you notice how they eat grass. You have seen a lawnmower, how a lawnmower cuts grass. It's like it goes or it shifts the blades as it keeps cutting the grass. So it will be the same case for a hippo when they get the grass, and you can see the mandibles or it's just say going like that. And that's why it could be the only reason why they have such big mouth. And when they fight also, they need them to grab whoever or to defend themselves. You can hear all the birds chirping as some of them are closing their day and some are starting their day, and we still got of good stuff happening for you in the tent.
Well, look at this, everybody. That is our lovely little skeleton of a human being. Yes, those are my fingers as well. And there it goes, down to the legs. And, well, this is just our happy friend here, Skeletor. And he's just showing us that we do have an internal skeleton inside our body. And that's what makes us a mammal, isn't it? One of the reasons why we are mammals. Now, I've got a couple of other little beasties here that I want to show you. One is the little beetle that's underneath the microscope, but he's up here on the big screen as well so that we can see. Now, remember, we have picked him up out of the bush, and we didn't kill him. He died of his natural causes, but he's one of the little creatures that has a skeleton on the outside of his body. Why? Because he's an invertebrate, but we don't need to go too deep into that. He's got a skeleton on the outside. It's very hard on top. It's and that skeleton all the way on the outside. Now, a couple of other things that also have skeletons seemingly on the outside. What's this? This is one of our beautiful tortoises that walks around here in the bush. And we've got one that walks around in our camp. And it's a girl, but her name is Gregory. And, well, she's not this one, because this one is dead now. But let's have a look right on the inside there. Can you see there? There's the backbone. Just there, the skeleton at the top. You see how the shell is attached to the tortoise? So there's the skeleton itself. And then he's carrying his house around on his back. And this is from a Speke's hinged tortoise, rather flat. But the one that is more common is this one, which is a leopard tortoise. Why is it called a leopard tortoise? Because of those lovely colors that look very much like a leopard, because it's yellow and black spots. But let's look on the inside there as well. Oh, can we get some light? Not on that side. Let's see if we can maybe get some over there. No. Well, you know what? That's how well protected he is. You can't even see his skeleton on the inside. But it's exactly the same as the one before, and also has his skeleton on the inside there. Now, Abby, obviously when we look at an animal, we want to think how that animal looks with, normally in the wild, the shape of their head, how long it is, or if it's very short and stubby. Like, for instance, I'm going to show you that one just now, like this. Obviously, with the buffalo, nice and easy, because we can see those long buffalo horns that come down, and a very big skull on it. And if we look at a wildebeest, well, he's also got very particular horns, doesn't he, that go to the side and then curl up, and quite a long face, almost like that of a zebra or a horse. Now, here's one that also looks like a horse, and I'm pretty sure that this is a zebra, and very long, isn't it? Because, you know, a horse and a donkey and a zebra, they've got very long noses and then very long teeth so that they can cut the grass in the front, and then lots of molars at the back so they can grind the food down, a little bit like our own teeth in our mouths. But there's one other little skeleton that I just want to show you here. Just one other one. This is a little dried frog. And look on the inside there. You can see his skeleton almost exactly like our skeleton of a human, which we'll put up next to it over there. So you can see the difference with the skeleton there. So a frog is almost like humans with the skeleton on the inside. So that's wonderful, isn't it? And, well, we're here in the tent, which isn't as great as it is out there. So let's head you on out there into the bush with Taylor.
And we're still looking for those chameleons. Haven't found an owl yet, but now I'm also starting to look for some other creatures. So we've come to an area where it's a little bit more open. I'll show you in 2 seconds. Let me just go to a part where there's no termite mounds, because you won't see anything then. And the area that we're in now, we could find something called a honey badger. Any of you know what a honey badger is? It's a big scary animal. Maybe when we go across to Ralph again in the tent, he can show you exactly what a honey badger looks like, because I think a real picture of one is frightening. They're one of the, well, they're known as like the pit bull of the bush, the Rottweiler. They are not afraid to challenge lions, but they're really small compared to the size of a lion. Now look here, look at all this open area. Now we are in infrared now, so we've got that special light on so you can see nicely. That's all the dust going past there. So in this long grass, it could be white-tailed mongoose. There could be the honey badgers that I was telling you about. There could also be an aardvark or an anteater. Some of you may know them. And then this is also a good spot to try and find some of the small owls. So a pearl-spotted owlet. I think I can hear one calling in the distance. It might be too far away for you to hear. And they like to eat insects. So I think there are going to be lots and lots of insects. You can see them all flying in front of the screen. Right, let's carry on. Now, Dipson, you've asked, how do the fireflies light up at night? That's something I haven't seen for a long time. The last time I saw a firefly or a glowworm was actually in Kenya in the Mara. And it's all got to do with this chemical reaction. So there's some chemicals that are inside there. And when they're mixed together, they make a sort of, they basically shine like that. So it's quite cool to see. I don't know if we're going to see any fireflies or glowworms. It would be really nice to actually find one. Have any of you ever seen what they look like? They're weird looking creatures. They don't really look like a worm, and they don't look like a fly either. They look more like a beetle, like a weird beetle bug thing. Let's see, maybe we find one. You know what, if I were to have to try and find a glowworm, I'd probably have to turn off all my lights. And sometimes we see them. If you go down into like the areas where there's a few forests and near water's edge, you can see them lots, but we don't have any massive water systems, no big rivers up here. Well, the rivers that we have are all dry now, so I don't think we're going to be seeing any fireflies tonight, sadly, but I'll keep looking. I want to show you all a honey badger, and there has been some honey badgers seen around here. Just before I went on my holiday, I've just come back from my holiday, I went to the concrete jungle, I went into the city, and I was Tristan found one, and then I quickly raced to him, and we were able to see them again. It was quite cool, very quick glimpse of the honey badgers, but you don't get to see them very often, so I'm checking carefully. Caleb, you're quite right. Hyenas are, in fact, predators. They're really good hunters. So a lot of people think that hyenas can't hunt, that they just go around and steal all the other animals' food. They're really good at doing that too. They're spectacular at doing that, in fact. However, they can also go and catch their own thing. So you won't really see a hyena eating an apple. Probably not going to pick an apple from a tree. They prefer, well, to eat an impala, like what Tingana, the leopard, was eating. And the same kind of animal that Tandy was eating too. Or they'll eat anything. They'll scavenge. So like they'll even eat other hyenas, which is crazy. So they can be cannibalistic. That's when the same species eats one another. Hyenas can do that. And they don't really discriminate. You know what they do, Caleb? Hyenas can be so annoying sometimes because at 2 o'clock in the morning, you'll hear some strange noises coming from outside our rooms. Not you, because you don't have hyenas, but we live in the bush and there's lots of hyenas. And then you'll go outside, you'll sneak out, you'll just open your door a little bit to have a look. And there we go, hyenas, and they're trying to take the bins. They've got all the rubbish bins and they're dragging them around. They can be a nuisance sometimes. So we have to make sure that we lock them up or put them out of reach. And then sometimes if they can't get the bins, they climb up and they try and take all the dishes out. I've seen them doing that too. And then they break things. They don't even just go for the rubbish. I've found pillows and things outside in the bush too, because maybe someone forgot to bring the pillows in, and we as people have been touching it, and we have all these strange scents and things on our hands, and hyenas think it smells delicious, and they will just take them and then they'll tear them up, and you'll think, oh my goodness, a bird has died here or something. It's not. It's the hyenas stealing all sorts of things. Now, I'm not winning tonight with finding all the animals. I thought we'd be seeing lots of owls and reptiles on this warm evening, but my friend David is winning and he's found something else.
Yes, I think it has been my winning day, and every day I combined with my brother David and we formed the David Coalition of the Davids is always great success. And we got an animal here that will be almost ending our drive for the day, and this looks like a steinbok to me. A bit shy in the darkness there, but it's very nice for all of you kids to see it. And it's just sneaking there, and what a day it has been, and we are all very, very excited for all the animals, all the leopards. You can imagine the joy we had to see all the leopards today, eating Tandy, Utalalamba, me with Tingana, Kale on top of the tree. Wasn't that wonderful? So to all of you nice kids, thank you for joining us, and hopefully we'll be seeing you again soon. Please come and we'll enjoy another safari drive together. And to the regular viewers, thank you so very much for having joined us on our Sunset Drive. And on behalf of all the team players out in the field and in the full control, we can't thank you enough who made all this wilderness experience get to you. And we'll say goodbye and see you tomorrow morning.